And welcome. Sorry for the delays, guys. Again, on me, on everyone. We've got a couple of ill people. I've been ill.
Woo!
Snake's not feeling great either, but we're all here. Welcome.
We're just sick as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. But welcome to We Need a Plan. You might see some big red X's. That's my doing. Quite literally. And I feel bad about it. But hey, if you missed last session, you definitely need to have seen it to really understand what the fuck's going on, but you might have some inkling as to what this means. That being said, how is everyone doing? You guys doing well? Apart from
Good, thanks, Ian. I got a new PC, but we overheard about that for the last 5 minutes. So
we have nerded out about that. But yeah, I mean, you can totally be excited about a new PC. It's awesome. Yeah, so Snake's feeling not great, and his cat is not feeling great either. But welcome to We Need a Plan. So
dead and buried.
well, maybe not buried. We'll see.
Actually,
yeah, carried away. Actually, dead and carried. Anyway, let's just dive into a recap as to where we were last session. And I believe it's opened and almost closed with a pretty rough fight against a group of vampires, or vampire spawn at least. The party was split. They recovered the bones of Saint Markovia. Excuse me, not Saint Markovia, of Saint Andrel, but were beset upon by multiple vampires. Zadie managing to turn at least some of them with her Turn Undead feature as a cleric, managed to turn what probably would have been even worse into what was a pretty tough fight in multiple locations. Some people making it out of the window, some unable to, and ultimately a fog cloud again becoming a big clusterfuck of a situation, but ending up in the party upstairs managing to split at least somewhat. Unfortunately, downstairs things didn't go quite as well, with both Richter and Trundle falling to the vampires. Trundle was torn apart in the house, whilst Richter was sort of pursued relentlessly by almost a lone vampire, which and then absconded with his body. Whilst Rhea did what was, in some sense, very sensible, and ran with the bones as fast as she could, being a rogue, being pretty fast, all the way to the Church of Saint Andrel. And she made her way there. Guzza and Zadie tried their best to basically try and keep the others alive, but it's not easy when you're being beset upon by multiple vampires. They made it out thanks to both their own ingenuity and the fact that some were-crows pitched up as well, sort of at least drawing away the attention of some of the vampires, whilst some guards were coming off in the distance. But last you saw, the vampires were in the house devouring Trundle, and one of them just was running off into the night. The remaining party regrouped at the Church of Saint Andrel, where there were several, a couple of dozen scared people seeking refuge and shelter in the church. The bones were reinstated by our more holy individuals, whilst Rhea was there as well. And once the bones were reinstated in their rightful place by the altar of the church, a powerful protective aura encompassed the church, and despite the events of the night, at least there was some glimmer of hope in this place. Zadie, for the first time probably since losing her sight, seeing almost a glimmer of light, even in her rather blind state. And they were thanked. Sort of, some people weren't sure what to believe. The townsfolk were very split. But Father Lucian was there, and he was very and he was very thankful, looking to basically provide us any aid he could at this point on. I believe the party said they were going to spend the rest of the night in the church, looking after people and just kind of staying safe after all the events of the night that had happened prior to that point. You're also aware as well, because she wasn't awake at this point, she was actually off in a side room, that Arena is in there as well, although unless you choose to go and wake her, she will sleep through the night and awake in the morning. The rest of the night, or at least, and the last thing before that happened, or at least whilst that was happening, where a couple of decisions were made. Both Trundle and Richter awakened in a sort of a dark, amorphous space where shadows kind of clung to them and silently questioned their resolve. And Trundle took the offer of another chance, where an orb of grey, smoky light slammed into his face, and he just felt himself sort of being like a searing pain connecting from there to his scar. But he then felt his world sort of just go white. Richter, meanwhile, declined the offer of, being, shall we say, transfused or infused with what looked to be thousands of needles of dark power and energy, and felt himself fall into a pit of blackness. And that is exactly where we left off. So some conversations were also had in the church just right before we did that as well, between the three remaining people, where there was a bit of transparency about who everyone was and how everyone felt. But it all sort of has culminated in this point where they are in the church. It is night. Night is rolling over into day. And unless there's anything you guys specifically wanted to do, I think you got most of it out. But if there's anything you specifically want to do in the night, by all means, you can do them now. The night generally passed without any incident besides what had already occurred. But you did hear off in the distance, to the eastern side of town, after maybe half an hour or so, some bells were rung. They were quite distant. They weren't town-wide. But they were silenced relatively quickly, and that's all you heard. But is there anything you three would like to do in the interim?
I think I said that I had a plan, but I'll be honest. Sorry, I'm gonna stop looking at Discord. But I think I'm gonna get derailed from my plan pretty quickly, aren't I, Sadie?
Yeah.
Well, it's entirely up to you. But again, you said you had a plan. You discussed this during the night, or
Yes.
waiting till morning?
I know in the crack of dawn morning we have to go meet some hunt boys to go hunting.
I'd like to actually be up before the crack of dawn. Like
Sure.
Before these two.
Sure. I'll say it's possible because of the nature of a long rest being about 6 hours of rest and 2 hours of.
I would have
Rest or
probably gone
otherwise.
to bed before them because
Ye-
I took the nasty bite off the vampire.
Yeah. I mean, you are feeling drained somewhat. The nature of how late it had already got in the night by the time you actually got to the church and everything, the sort of the ceremonial stuff had taken place. You were in a situation where you'd be able to get up just after the crack of dawn, effectively, in order to have a full long rest, recover your hit points and whatnot. And again, although you were able to get up, that fatigue has perhaps drained you and left you in a situation where you get up around that time. You awaken in the church. There are still a few people around. Quite a lot of families seem to have either gone home after whatever transpired had transpired. Others stayed there for the night. Again, you tended to them as a collective, but there's maybe 3 or 4 individuals remaining alongside the father, and as you step out into the main area of the church, you see that Arena is there as well. Her dressed in her armor and her garb, just sat on one of the pews, just wringing her hands slightly. But as she sees you step out, Rhea, she sort of looks over, but doesn't actually approach.
Yeah. Before I leave the room, can I check and see if there's like a pen and paper, a quill, paper, something like that?
Yeah, I would say
Especially we're
there's
in an office room.
There's a writing desk, and it's not hard to come by. Essentially, writing utensils. There's a pot of ink just sitting there. A few pieces of paper, not many, but yes, there are the tools to write a message.
Okay, I'm going to quickly scribble something on a bit of paper, and fold it up, and then I'll leave the room and step out into the main chamber area.
So you write a note for yourself.
Yes,
Okay.
basically.
And you step out, and again you see Irina sort of sitting there, a couple of pew rows up, but again it's still a good 20 or so feet. And as the door opens, her head sort of swings around. She sees you, but she sort of waits for you to approach, and she sits there. So,
Wake up.
is that on my end? It seems like it's on my end. It seems like I have Discord issues. Bear with me. I think it's Discord that's melting here. So bear with me. Well, at least I'm moving, but I don't know what's going on with Discord. Bear with me. Bear with me. I can hear Snake just fine, I think. But oh, and everyone's gone, and I'm back. Is that on my end? Was that for everyone? Wow. Well, this is fantastic, isn't it? Wow. Discord's just given up.
Everyone...
Oh no, you're back.
Was that just me, or was that for everyone?
I think that was everyone.
Okay. Well, at least I know it's not on my end, because it seemed like the stream was absolutely fine, but Discord just gave up. So if you bear with me,
Sorry,
my camera's not up, but there we go. Sorry about that. Wow, Discord just decided to shit
resolved,
bricks.
no
Yeah, exactly.
I apologise.
So Sophie, it literally started going mental as you started speaking. So
Yes, of course.
I at first I thought it might be you, but it's not. It was Discord.
No,
So what
Yep.
would you like to do? As you
No,
step out?
I go up to Irina and say, you are still here.
She looks at you sort of expectantly. Yes. What does? And she sort of just looks at you curiously again. Are you bandaging up your neck at all, or?
My neck is probably bandaged at this point.
Yeah, she does look at you quizzically, and looks at you pretty sternly in the eyes. What happened?
Yes, and I'll just pull it to one side and show.
And she just shudders slightly, sort of slightly PTSD-esque.
It wasn't him, thank goodness, but something like him, I think.
She looks worried, but just nods slowly. You're sure it wasn't him?
Pretty sure. Wasn't quite as
Much too hot.
eloquent as he is. Give him that at least.
She sort of looks at you. Where did this happen?
The coffin maker. I don't know how much you know about what happened here last night.
She just shakes her head. I was sleeping.
I'll sort of pull her off to one side because I know it was quite a hush thing. You know the saint that this church represents.
She sort of nods. She says, I cannot remember the name. Saint
Saint Andral, I think.
Yeah, she slowly nods. She says, I think that's it.
No, apparently his bones were buried here, and they protect the area from vampires and everything. It's quite extraordinary. But someone had stolen them. And put a lot of good people in danger. So we... Sorry, the arm appeared. So we went to retrieve them.
And
unfortunately ran into quite a bit of trouble in doing so.
What do you mean besides this?
Oh, this and about 4, at least, others.
You see the kind of colour drain from her face slowly, but she's still just listening to your every word.
For far too many for us to deal with. We weren't expecting it, and
in this town, it is. Yeah, I would not have expected. You say 5 of them. That's.
I think at least there might have been more. I think Sadie's frightened some of them away. She used something I don't know. But no, and unfortunately not all of us made it back.
Who didn't make it?
Trundle and Richter. I didn't see it, but Zadie and Gaza said that they both fell.
Yeah, and as you say that again, she sort of sighs, looks down. You see her kind of frustrated. She's like, "This is all my fault."
What? No, what?
You
Hey,
wouldn't-
hey,
and she looks at you. She says, "You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me and my brother and our plan to leave." And
we wouldn't be in Valaki if it weren't for you and your brother, but it was nothing to do with you that we went to the coffin makers.
you see, she's half listening to what you're saying, but at the same time is very much like her focus is immediately shifted. There's like you can tell there's somewhere mixed between anger, frustration, sadness. There's just a whole basically fluctuation of emotion, but she's keeping it under the level. Besides sort of her breathing heightened slightly, she just sort of says,
Listen, you didn't ask for any of this.
"We did as much. You said you wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for us. Don't know where you would be, but you probably wouldn't have come to the church either."
Oh, we would have come to the church. I don't think Zadie would have let us get away with not coming to the church. You know how she is, don't you?
And she sort of looks at you, conceding that slightly. Suppose, but I'm sorry. And she sort of takes your hand, just like clasps both of her hands over your hand. I'm sorry this is
Slightly
happening.
so. Listen, you have enough on your plate as it is. Don't go piling more on.
She...
You-
Karen.
It's not your fault, and none of us would say so. None of us. So, put that thought out of your head, okay?
It's easier said than done, but you see her just kind of like weighing it up, and after what she's been through in the past, you kind of just get the slow kind of nod. She says, "It is not worth dwelling on, save in their memory."
Well, I
Seem
have to go and... Sorry, go on.
No, she says, "They seem to be good people."
Eh, maybe. I didn't know them as well as I might have liked. I think they were a bit strange. I like strange
yeah,
things.
she shrugs slightly and says, like through the kind of the crestfallen look, there's like a almost a very slight crest of a smile as she just says, "Well, they may have been strange, but they seem to have good intentions."
Yes.
So she kind of questions you again. To expect it slightly, questions you on how they died with the sort of falling to vampires, and you know, she just.
Like I said, I didn't see. I didn't see myself. I had the bones. I was running for the church.
Well, at least, I mean, if evil disliked them, then they can't have been evil. But I'm sorry. She says, where are the others? She kind of looks at you expectantly.
They're still sleeping, and while they still are, I need you to do something for me.
What do you need?
When they wake up, will you give them a message for me?
She nods and says, "Of course, I will wait here."
I have to go and run an errand, shall we say.
She nods.
But can you tell them that I will meet them at the tavern, unless they want to come and see the show, and I will hand her the piece of paper and say, "And will you give them this?" And
She looks quizzically as you say, "See the show," but she sort of just nods a little bit. Of course, I will wait here, and just sort of rest. Like you see her sort of, again, like sort of wait for you to go, and she takes her seat again at the pews. Again, you see the father who sort of notices you. He's near the far end of the church, and he's chatting with some of the people who are still there. He sort of sees you, sort of gives you one of these kind of the distant waves, but not as like a beckoning or to come over, just to sort of
I do the same, and then I'm going to go out the door and start heading down the street.
Okay, where are you headed?
I'm heading towards the coffin makers.
Okay, so I mean, again, at a
I'm not
non.
in any hurry. I'm just
Yeah.
strolling down.
Moving through town, everything seems business as normal. There are people, moving around, much more so than there were in the village of Barovia. You again hear a bit of a hustle bustle, the same sort of dink 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 of a blacksmith's somewhere in town, sort of to the southern side of the road. You hear that. You hear again as you pass through the center of town, past where the Blue Water Inn is. To the south, you hear not a commotion per se, but you hear a few voices, talking in loud things. Sounds like someone's almost decreeing something to the south, where you would have at least seen that there's a semblance of a town square in this sort of region. Again, that's sort of the south central area. But you continue to move past with your focus in mind, and as you come sort of towards where the courtyard area is, with the wagons that are there with storing goods, you do get a shot of the coffin makers. The front door is busted down still. You see that there are some guards nearby in the local vicinity, in the area of this sort of stockyard. But besides that, that's all you see. A couple of guards in the nearby area. And that's what you see.
Yeah, I'm happy to switch back to the others if you want.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that's totally fine. So the two of you, again, as she makes her way over town, you're not exactly late risers. So perhaps it's with the fatigue of last night, as well as at least in Zadie's case, the fact you can't see the sunrise to indicate when it's time to wake, and the sun is somewhat suppressed. You bring yourself to rise in the early. I'd say the early morning, maybe 20 minutes or so after Rhea leaves. Guzzler, you rise around the same time, having gone to bed around the same time after looking after a few people in the actual church. You see that Rhea's not there in the room with you, but what would you like to do?
Time-wise, I assume we're not too late for the hunters as well. I assume we've got some time to get
You discuss the sort of they usually go at dawn. With regards to your discussion, you get the sense that they, especially because you prepaid them, they seemed honest enough, and they seemed like they would wait around for a little while at least. Like I said, if you just don't pitch up, you imagine they're not ones to stick around the whole day. They will just go and do something productive. But if you get the sense it wasn't like we leave at the crack of dawn or else, they will be waiting for you at the Blue Water Inn, as far as you're aware.
Did they ever tell us if they were locals to the area or not?
You would have got the sense that they are, based off of the way the barman described them, and the way that they spoke to you. In terms of more than that, no, you haven't really had a long conversation with them.
That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
So you both awaken in the morning. Again, Rhea not there.
You up there, Zadie?
Oh yeah, you can't tell. Yeah. Yeah, I'm awake. Yeah, where's Rhea at? Did you hear her leave?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, she's
She
probably
must be
like
around or
pulling up
something.
the floor in the goddamn church.
Can you say that in a Lord house?
Well, I mean, I'm not the one doing it.
Sure.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
So
yeah, we should go get her.
right on.
And back to the right?
Sounds good to me. If you could help me here with this, and taking off whatever things I see as pajamas, and
I imagine
hard on.
Yeah, I imagine a onesie with the kind of button butt flap.
Yes.
Perfect.
Never do that.
So you just sort of undo that. You still have stuff on underneath, but you get yourselves armored up and ready as you usually would. And it takes a few minutes, but you make your way out into the church, where again you see Irina sitting there. She seems to be reading a book. It seems to be one of the sort of holy texts. She doesn't seem to be particularly engrossed in it, but she's kind of thumbing through it and just turning it page by page. That very much that kind of Bible paper as she sits there. Doesn't notice you leave the room as she's sort of reading it and vacantly kind of staring at it. But she is sitting there, and you see the father sort of again down the other end. At this point, he seems to just be cleaning the altar, not sort of in any. Doesn't seem to be particularly dirty. He seems to just be trying to find something to occupy his time.
No sign of Rhea.
No sign of Rhea.
Okay, I'll go up to Arena.
Yeah, as you start to approach again with your heavy armor, she kind of startles, looks around, and sort of she stands up, and again the look on her face is a mixture of emotions. She's sort of glad to see you, but at the same time there's like a, I'm so sorry. I heard what happened to your other friends. And she kind of just places her hands on your shoulders, probably higher than hers, and she sort of just like lowers her head slightly. I apologize. I can't help but feel it.
Nothing to say sorry for.
She starts to. I can't help but feel. I'm sorry, but. And as she's there, she sort of goes, Rhea told me to give you this, and hands over this folded piece of paper.
She about
it to?
yeah.
I mean, she'll hand it to. I guess she'll hand it to Gaza, being the whole eye thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It says.
Okay. It doesn't actually say anything. Now, this is the prep I was telling you about, and it is only 5 minutes worth of prep. Rhea is not an artist, and neither am I.
All the prefacing in the world will not save you from whatever's about to happen.
As you fold open the paper, and hopefully this will come up on camera properly, but this is what you see.
Wow.
That's actually pretty fucking cool, dude. I had no idea what to expect. That's really awesome. It's simple, but it's cool. It's fucking. I can't draw like that, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's a picture of a burning house.
And yes, and with some little Bernie vampires with the fangs and everything as well, just to really hammer the point home.
Yeah, and as you unfold it,
things Zadie's never seen.
Because as you unfold it, sort of Arena looks at it as you do, and sort of there's like a kind of look of, again, quizzical like bepuzzlement on her face as she sees it, and kind of arches one eyebrow, but doesn't say anything. She told me to give that to you.
Anything else?
I'm sorry. No, she just told me to give you this. She headed off somewhere. She said she had some business to attend to.
Is she gonna meet us at the tavern, maybe? Did you say anything about that?
Did you say anything about that?
I said tell them I'll meet them at the tavern
okay.
unless they want to come and see the show.
My brain, yes, okay. She'll share that because my memory is like it's so bad. Like literally, it's like I've been ill and it's been like my mind has been a sieve. It's great. Yeah. So she tells you that, but again with the kind of the quizzical nature on the show, but as she sees the paper, her eyebrows again quizzically look, and then you get the kind of recognition.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but that was kind of what I was planning on anyway. So a bit offended that she ran off and didn't ask us to join, but let's go.
I agree. And yeah, I'll fold it up, put it in my pocket, and be like, "Are you coming with us?" And I look to her.
No, you should stay here. Your brother thought you'd be safe here, and don't want to take you into a household of vampires. You stay safe.
Well, as I so creatively described, it would appear that these vampires are on fire because of this. I'm aware you cannot see, but the sun is out, it is shining, and it would appear that these vampires become a light when the sun is shining.
I just think it would be for him to stay where your brother wanted you. You stay here. Did you have a nice conversation with father, by the way? Did you guys sort something out?
She again seems slightly distracted, but sort of nods. He seems like a nice man. I don't remember meeting him when I was younger, but he seems to remember my father quite fondly. But and again, you see her recounting all the shit that's happened in like the last 2 days, the 2 or 3 days in regards to her brother with another encounter with Strahd and so on and so forth. And there's like that moment of just a brief moment of maybe a second or two of just pause before she kind of comes back. But no, he seems to be one of the few genuinely nice people I've met here. The townsfolk seem calm enough, but they are, well, they're scared, I think. And seeing someone who they do not know is not does not do much to calm them, I suppose. But yes, this is a nice enough place. But
of
stay
course.
here then. You have a day. we'll go and find.
Yeah, she says, but if you are going to, you mentioned. No, it's okay, and she doesn't sort of she trails off her sentence. Just please don't leave me behind. I don't want to stay here as safe as it is. She kind of just shrugs slightly. As safe as it is, I can't help but think my brother at least had more ideas than bringing me to a church and leaving me here. I can fight. I can help, I'm sure, but...
Leave you here? And I sort of put my head just to rest under her chin. Be like...
An alarm as well, apparently, for 7:55.
Oh, sorry, I
it's my
raise
7:55.
your
Sorry,
alarm,
guys, I'm going to
so
head
sorry.
off. Bye. I've got to do something. Why is there an alarm for 7:55? This is just the comedy of
It's an
fucking
interesting
errors,
time.
isn't it? Bear with me. I'm going to check to see if other weird alarms have been set in the meantime. Who knows? Who knows? That's a phone betrayal this time. Sorry, Gaza. Apologies.
No worries.
Where were you?
I would say to leave a face like that behind, put my hand on her chin. Now that would be sin. Shall we go?
Go ahead and make just a straight up charisma
Cock
check.
with...
No, I roll for eye roll.
No, you can't.
Well, yeah. you can imagine that you're rolling your eyes, but your vision is always everywhere.
Charisma check, you said, sorry.
Yeah, just a straight up charisma check. That's pretty good. You see the sense that even in amidst the emotion and the sort of the general emotional drain that the last, like I said, few days have been, there's a smile at the side of her face, and she sort of nods and looks up and says, "Thank you. Well, it is appreciated, and I can be helpful now if you need me to do something. I can at least venture out a little bit. Maybe buy something if you need." She looks across all of you, well, the two of you that are there. If you need any food or rations, or I don't know, but what do you need? She smiles slightly. Anything that can help, I am happy to try and acquire for you.
Some rations would be great. I'm getting awful tired. I mean, I don't know what we've been having for the last 4 days or whatever.
A variance of stuff,
Cooked
a lot
shit.
mixture of cooked food, sometimes dried stuff, and yeah. I mean, some of it's been pretty good. Some of it, namely Rhea's meal, has been okay, and some of it's been just sustenance. But depends on what you guys need. But yeah, that's she sort of just nods and says, I'll see what I can find. I guess I could come with you now, at least on my way to the center of town. And she sort of starts to get her things together. Effectively, just goes and grabs her bag off one of the pews and throws it over her shoulder. If you're heading there now, I will come with.
I mean,
Maybe
I
I'll-
just...
I'm shutting up. I'm shutting up.
Trundle comes
No,
along
I
with.
mean, come.
Yeah. So Zadie.
I mean, if you want to like walk with her, that's fine.
Well, there's two sides of me. You can walk either side of me.
That's okay. I'm just gonna leave.
Yeah. She sort of
Go
like
on,
she sort of glances at Zadie leaving and glances at you, and then she sort of just goes and like sort of darts to catch up with Zadie as Zadie walks off. And you make your way out of the church.
But apparently into more trouble, it would seem. Yes.
Well, we shall see, I suppose. So you leave the church and start making your way down the street again. As this is happening, because this is like a 20-second delay, I'm gonna quickly switch back to Rhea. Rhea, you see that there are some guards dotted around.
I'm disappointed by this.
Yeah. There are none like posted right in front of the house, but in terms of the stockyard, you see that there's you can still see off in the distance, although they're not illuminated by torches. It's now illuminated by daylight. You can see a guard on the southernmost wall along the sort of battlements, a good couple of 100 feet away, I'd say. And to like around the area, there's about 3 or 4 guards posted up. 1 or 2 near the entrance to the stockyard, excuse me, and 1 or 2 that are near to the coffin makers, but aren't specifically there standing there. You can get the sense that even without any sort of insight check or perception check, their focus is kind of on it, but they are just generally guards of the town. They don't seem to be, like I said, stationed outside it.
Okay. I'll head over to the two that seem to be keeping an eye on the coffin maker's
Sure,
house.
they stand about 10 or 15 feet away from each other, but they're just... And one of them's kind of looking around, seems to be noting something down in a book, just writing something down. The other one sees you approach and goes, "Hail! How can we help?"
Hail. Just wanted to get a grip on the situation here.
What situation?
Situation with the pointy tooth things.
He sort of scowls at you and says, "How do you know about this?"
And I'll pull the bandage across my neck.
And as you're sort of saying that, he sort of calls the other, like, as before that, he calls the other one and says, "Barros!" And the other guy turns around, sort of closes his book and sort of makes his way over. And as you pull it down, they go, "You've been bitten!" And immediately start to, like, draw their swords as you show them your vampire-bitten neck. And again, the blades are drawn. You see the shh, as they're both sort of standing there pointing at you, going,
Whoa, 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 whoa! I've been bitten, but I'm standing here. You really think I would approach you if I was one of those things?
He scowls slightly. Go ahead and make a persuasion check with... I'll just say make a persuasion check.
Oh, Jesus.
I have to get you out of jail again.
We shall see.
He listens.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. As you sort of say that, the logic, the I mean, vague logic that you're trying to apply doesn't really wash with these guards, and one of them, the other guy who sort of moved around to the side slightly, reaches out and just tries to grab you, effectively grapple you, just place his hand on your shoulder.
Oh, I'm gonna jump back.
Okay, it's a contested check, so bear with me. I just need to get the sheet out. As
Acrobatics, yeah.
Yeah, as the other one's blade sort of presses up towards your face. It's gonna be... Can't beat that. Yeah, these are standard guards. These aren't sort of amazingly well trained people. And they and as you sort of as he reaches out, you sort of duck out the way slightly, and you go. You hear him sort of call out. He goes, "Hey!" Like, as you, I mentioned, sort of, I will say you're able to sort of disengage away from them just a little bit. He says, "Doesn't matter if it's taken you or not. You've been bitten by one of those things. We cannot allow you to stay within the walls of this town.
What? That's ridiculous.
The infection may take some time to take hold." And again, they start to sort of approach you, blades drawn, and start to make their way towards you.
I'm here to find my friends who fell last night. We fucking saved your asses.
As he says, you have saved no one. These creatures are fleed. But again, at this point, they are approaching, and you hear like the one who's standing off to the side calls out, and she goes, "Hey, we need help over here!" And again, it sort of echoes out pretty loudly in this area. It says, "You've saved no one."
Ready, Ian. Sorry.
Yeah.
I can just copy paste them.
The death incoming.
Yeah.
Oh, great! This is
But they are approaching again, blades drawn, kind of trying to position themselves on either side of you as they do so. As one sort of tries to keep your focus, the other one you can see and hear is sort of moving behind you. But they're sort of circling you. You come here bitten by one of those creatures. You may well turn at this point, and well, you're dangerous to everyone here.
dangerous.
Yeah, and he just gestures again with the blade, kind of closest to your face, towards your neck.
Try and tell Father Lucian that.
Again.
You wouldn't have your precious saint's bones if it weren't for me,
That man is a fool. He places too much faith in gods that do not show their place. And he gestures up to the overcast sky.
You did not see what I saw last night.
Hey! And he calls out again, and you hear the sound of sort of guard armor sort of moving in from the area around you. Again, this is shifting towards the front of the coffin maker's house, and you can hear the sound of guards approaching from the north. The two that you saw as you came in, and again they approach. Again, not with blades drawn, but as they do approach, one of them with a spear, the other one, sorry, with like a long spear, the other one with a set of short swords. He also draws his short sword. The other one with a spear. Kind of again, they kind of surround you. And again, he kind of explains the situation out. He goes, "She's been bitten by one of the things that was here last night.
What did you do with the bodies of my friends?
We haven't touched anything. The house has been left as it was, except apparently something escaped." And he gestures towards you. And you're going to come with us, or you're going
I'm not going anywhere with you until I find out where my friends' bodies are.
We have not seen any bodies.
They were here.
And he just again, they have their blades drawn at this point. All
Can
of
I
them.
see like the blood stains or anything? Where...
I mean, go ahead and make a survival check, but you're still not right near the front door. You're still a good 20, 30 feet away and don't have an angle in. But make a survival check.
Wish that had been my persuasion roll, but well.
Yeah, it would have helped.
Yeah.
16's not bad. It's pretty decent. As again, they're sort of surrounding you. You have seen and you're able to glance over. There's definitely signs of all the foot traffic that was taking place last night around the front of the house. The path is a bit more sort of muddy and upturned, where the feet have sort of slopped in mud and then sort of been pulled out. In terms of blood, you see near the doorway, it's kind of dark inside. Besides the bit of light that's hitting the front, where the door's blown in, it looks like the door has at least been moved to one side. But beyond that, there's not too much to see. You see that the wood is dirty. Some of the coffins, one of the coffins was broken in the fight last night. You probably weren't there in character to see it, but you can see that one of the coffins is split and busted. In terms of blood, you can see that there's some sort of splashed around the place a little bit, but it's not clear. There's no centralized body. There's nothing like that. And where your friends were last stood, at least, which was outside the front of the house, sort of just to the north. You see the muddy foot traffic, but that's about all you can make out in the situation with 4 guards surrounding you.
Right. This is ridiculous.
You're bitten by a creature of the night, it is, and you have more information than any other people here do. Only begs the question as to why you come to us. But now you'll speak to the Burgermeister.
It does beg the question why a supposed creature of the night would come strolling up to a group of guards.
Don't play coy with us. It could be some sort of deceitful trick, and you have been bitten. And he sort of, again, you see him kind of eyeing your neck again, even though you may have covered it back up. And again, he's sort of, these 4 guards have surrounded you. Now are you going to come with us, or are you going to put up a fight? I don't advise it.
My stunt. Has the sun risen at this
point?
point?
The sun's in the sky, but it's like behind clouds. It's permanently behind clouds.
Right.
I can't really emphasize that enough. The sun, since you've been here, has never been fully out in the sky.
Why do I need to be taken to him? If I'm supposedly so dangerous.
He will decide what to do with you.
I'm not going anywhere without my friends.
He says, well, you say your friends' bodies? Well, they are long gone, it would seem. Any creatures have absconded with them. He says, you think we know? And again, Blades pointed out towards you. Says, take her in chains. And one of the guards starts to approach you from behind.
I can cast levitate on myself.
On yourself, okay.
Yes.
This is going to be kind of an initiative roll thing.
God.
Okay. So I need you to just roll. Just roll an initiative roll, please.
It wasn't fog cloud though, guys. Probably end up wishing it had.
Yeah, you might need a token to select, but you might be able to roll it.
Oh,
normally.
I do. I know I can't.
If you can drag your token on, just for the sake of for the purpose of this, onto the screen.
Okay. Yeah, there it is.
Okay, that's a 3 for the guard. As he's fumbling with it, as he's fumbling with the chains.
I don't think I can fail on this because my initiative is +4.
That's fair. Well, okay, yeah, you succeeded anyway, just for the sake of it. And as he's fumbling with the chains, you cast levitate again, because this is another thing to note. Anything that's a racial spell, generally speaking, you don't need the material components, but you actually don't need to use the somatic or verbal components either. You're able to just sort of do it. It just happens. So as you sort of just pull your hands together ever so slightly, your body sort of rises up, and they go and they all sort of start to move in below you. You levitate 20 feet in the air. The guard, fumbling with his manacles, sort of drops them and picks them back up. But he sort of, like, the focus, thankfully for him, isn't on him as you float up in the air. And the guard that's there sort of just looks at you and goes, "Go get the commander." He says to one of the other ones, and the one with the spear who says that to sort of nods and starts to make his way, sort of basically cutting through the buildings to the northwest, and starts to make his way sort of out of sight. As he looks up at you, what are you doing? The other guards, all three of them, are looking up at you.
I'm just hanging there.
Okay, sure. He looks at you with his arms folded. He says, "It seems like a great trick, but you won't be able to stay up there all day, and then you will be seeing the Burgermeister."
I have plenty of other tricks, and I told you I'm not going anywhere with you.
He sort of shrugs and says, "You've made your bed. You seem intent on resisting any sort of discussion." And he has his arms folded. You hear the guard making his way off into the distance. Yeah, I mean, he's just going to wait there.
This would be a good time to see if you remember we talked about me being able to use my gust cantrip.
Correct. Moving as an action, moving you 5 feet. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm just going to start just towards the nearest house that has a roof.
I mean, they will literally get their ropes and start to try and lasso you in the air.
I'll just go higher up.
You can only go 20 feet high, I believe, as well.
I can move further up on my turn.
Oh, you can. Okay.
I'll click on it.
Sure, go for it. Just so we can read it. But again, he's just there with his arms
We needed
folded.
this slightly more light-hearted.
Oh, this happened.
So this happened.
Yeah. Yep. So
Change the altitude by up to 20 feet. So yeah, if they start to get ropes out, I'll go another 20 feet.
Let me read this quickly.
A dragon comes and you have to get on the ground.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say for sure how high you can go with it, but I think you're right in saying you just keep going, because it just initially rises someone up to 20 feet. So yeah, you're able to start just rising up a little bit higher, and he just sort of just shrugs and just sort of says, "The commander will not be happy with this." And again, you start to float up, suspended there for a while. It's about how long are you doing this for, effectively?
Well, I mean, it lasts for 10 minutes.
It does, but what's your intention?
My intention is that I'm going to try and gust myself to at least within a reasonable distance of the nearest house, and then I'm going to get my grappling hook and rope out and try and grapple hook myself onto the nearest
Sure.
roof.
So 5 feet around. I mean, the nearest house is the coffin makers, and it is. I mean, it's maybe a minute away in terms of using gust. With everything that's taken place so far, you have maybe 8 minutes before you get above the house, having levitated yourself
Any
up.
trees?
Yeah. No, there aren't really. Well, not within gust 5 feet around distance. There's a bunch of trees to the southwest, maybe 5 minutes away, in gust speed. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, they will. Around this time, again, a couple more guards will have gathered from the wall. Again, with bows and arrows. They're not shooting them, but they have them drawn and aiming up at you. And as the one guard calls and says, "They will shoot you out the sky. Don't make any mistake."
Okay.
As you're levitating. Also, due to your height, go ahead and make a perception check as well whilst you're moving.
Yay. Wow, my specialty. Only not. Oh, I'll take that.
Okay, yeah. As you're sort of levitating, heading over to the west, you see off in the distance, you see two groups, oddly, moving on different altitudes, different speeds. One of them, you see Guzzer and Zadie, I believe, would be moving through. Again, we'll get to them in a little bit. The other group is the guard you saw leave, flanked by, or it was like flanking alongside 2 other guards, a rather larger looking individual, standing about 7 feet tall, at least a head height above everyone else, broad shoulders, dark armor, and I'd say with a 16 is just about good enough. A rather large, like bulky, like arm, hand to one side, just sort of trudging forward. Seeing you as you glance over, you see his eyes almost lock with yours, even from the few hundred feet away that he's moving there, and he just seems to be heading as directly as he can towards where you are. Meanwhile, the other group, going back to them, this is sort of
I'm just going to be shouting, I'm not going back to prison!
guard just calls up and says,
I won't make it on the inside!
The guard says, we shall see about that, but you've made a scene now.
You made a scene!
I'm not a vampire!
Cool. So as Zadie and Guzza, as you leave the church and make your way to the center of town, sort of where this where the Blue Water Inn is, and to the south as the town square, Irina sort of pulls up and says, I'm going to go look around here for some foods and supplies. Is there anything you want specifically? I can try and have a look, but I don't have too much coin. Just what I had on me. Ismark was carrying most of it.
Oh, you should pay for our stuff here.
She waves off and says, "No, I have enough to pay for supplies, but is there anything at all you need?"
No, I mean I'm fine.
Yeah,
What
whatever
about
you
you
think
guys?
is
Is there anything you need? Anything you want?
It's just I will be able to get anything I need here. I
Some
suppose.
company would be kind, but thank you, Arena. I'll see you shortly. Turn back to Sadie.
Well, you have no
Shall
intent.
we?
She sort of just what? But she makes her way just sort of to the south to where the town square seems to be. And it seems to be there's a few local shops, butchers, bakers, candlesticks makers. The whole shebang. But you start to make your way further on. Are you stopping at the inn at all? Because you're pretty much right outside it.
No, come straight here.
Oh, I mean, if those guys are there, I guess we'll tell them we'll bring them tomorrow.
Sure. So I mean, you head into the tavern. They are indeed there. As they see you enter, Guzza, as the one who was sort of making the deal with them, they sort of stand from their seats and approach and go, "Where are the rest of your friends? Thought you are having not 5 of you."
Yeah, they are not all with us at this moment in time.
So he sort of nods and says, "So are we heading or what?"
Just looking, just almost scowling, because Sadie, I'd be like, unfortunately, we cannot help with your hunt right now. Perhaps tomorrow, is that something that can be arranged? I assume. Will more coin be necessary?
He sort of, you see him deliberating over it and shrugs slightly. He says, "You were paid up front, but time planning. You pay half again, 2.5 gold, and we will see you tomorrow."
Cool, thanks.
Should-
I'll
Sure. So you hand over the 2.5 gold, well, 2 gold, 5 silver, and he sort of graciously thanks you and says, "Much appreciated." And you see him thinking for a while. He says, "You need to get in touch in the interim. We'll be out on hunt today ourselves, but you see him thinking, but tomorrow, if you need to get in touch with us this evening, speak to the bartender." And he sort of gestures to the same sort of black with streaks of grey bartender who's there, sort of just again cleaning mugs, dealing with another customer at this point in time. But as he says it, the guy sort of looks over and just sort of nods slightly. But otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Yes, there will be all of you, or no?
There'll be some. We don't know. I don't know who wants to come, but you have been so kind. It's so great. Anyway, we need to go.
He just kind of just shrugs and goes, "You have paid well." He pockets your money.
I'm gonna be like, I have no concept of.
Yeah, and he doesn't say anything else. He just sort of there, kind of like, "Well, we'll see you tomorrow then." And he just claps you on the back, sort of as if like a okay, bye. And he turns to the other guy, the younger looking guy with the scarred face, and just says, "Yevgeny, we'll be moving out we have a Ronan to do apparently, but again the conversation descends, and they sort of seem to be talking about the plans for tonight, tomorrow, and he takes them, and they sort of go over to the bar, order another drink, but by that point you're sort of heading out, and from there you head on to the coffin maker's shop.
Yes, we do.
In fact, before you head in there as well, Irina will sort of say, "Oh, where do you want to meet back at the inn? Yes, or at the church? I don't mind which."
We'll meet you at the church.
She sort of nods and says, "Okay, perfect. Okay. Well, having seen the picture and whatnot, and having deduced what Rhea might have meant with her message, just says, don't get yourselves into much trouble, okay?" And just sort of just nods, and the whole thing, that's just it's like retrospect thing. So you make your way out of the tavern. I would like, because it's too far for Zadie, Guzza, I'd like you to make a perception check as you move through town.
Pleasure.
Please.
Ooh, 0 perception bonus, everyone. Good luck, all.
Oh, that's a 17, not bad. So yeah, you two, as you're heading, you sort of head down the fork to the right, as you can sort of cut through some of the houses. You see in the sky Rhea, and as well as that, you see as she sort of hovers maybe, and it's hard to gauge exactly high up, but at least 50 or so feet up, you see sort of a couple of ropes go like sailing beneath where she is, like, you know, these what look like lassos, effectively just falling well short of where she is. Just a couple of them before they seem to stop. And you see her just with her hands extended out in one direction, just slowly drifting to very slowly drifting, but she's a good 400-500 feet away, maybe more than that, in fact, maybe 1,000 feet away as you start to make your way.
But I recognize it's
you
Rhea.
recognize it's Rhea with a 17 for sure.
Sure.
And
Now,
you've seen her do it as well beforehand.
Zadie, you ain't gonna quite believe what I'm about to tell you, but something on that drawing was missing here. Now, and I just put it out again. Just
All right, I'll add it in.
Okay. Are you gonna add it in or not? Sorry.
I will.
Look upon the
Okay,
horizon.
so like when I first saw it, I didn't actually see that. Maybe my thumb was over the picture
Yeah,
of you
my thumb
floating in the air.
Yeah, because you don't see the guards.
Look at the-
Effectively, at ground level, you just see the buildings, but you do see her just up in the sky, like a lost balloon, just slowly drifting.
Sailing through the
But
air.
you see her, and she looks. I mean, you can't make out too great facial expressions here, but you can see that she's definitely like trying to push herself away slowly. And again, the ropes indicate to you that something's not all well. Can
you run? And I look at her.
I mean, I can, yeah.
Then we running, and I'm gonna run off in that direction.
Sure,
as
and I
fast
mean,
as I can.
yeah, you're able to track with Guzza, and you can still see 60 feet away, so it's not like you're going to run into anything. In fact, you can see very well within 60 feet. But you follow Guzza around this point, and you sort of, again, it is quite an effort for you guys to run all that distance in all your heavy armor. You did it last night under the source of heavy adrenaline. Right now, you're a little bit sapped, but you're able to just run. I would like, from both of you, just athletics checks, just to see, just to see how sort of how hard you're able to sort of push yourselves. An 18's perfectly fine. And Zadie?
Yep, it really wants to roll off on.
And
Oh.
oh shit, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Oh.
17, 18.
And
Okay, my character. There we go. Got it.
come on.
Uh.
Complete the secret.
Just waiting for roll 20s to sort of like the cogs to connect and sort of just slowly get the Rube Goldberg machine to just make the roll. Just there's a dice and a cup at the top of like this huge long chain, and at the moment there's like a feather duster just pushing a bowling ball somewhere. That's
I mean,
Oi!
Oh!
That's a nat 20. Okay, nice. Yeah,
Jesus, past you.
that's the way.
yeah.
She's trying to catch up with that. Just...
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, the only reason Zadie's not bolted ahead of you, and you are both perfectly fine, you're like a little bit out of breath, but as to be expected when running in heavy armor through the streets. A few eyes do come your ways, but again, the only reason Zadie's not kind of pushing on ahead a little bit is because she doesn't really know exactly which direction she's needing to run in. So you're still leading the way, but Zadie's basically side by side with you, and you start bolting your way over there. Now, this is all taking place around the same time. So Ray, you're able to push yourself over above the house, around which time you see the guards sort of discussing and encircling the house. A couple of them seem to enter into it as well. At this point, the other group of guards are making their way with this larger commander figure, sort of through the houses to the north. You can see your allies running this way as well. They're still a few hundred feet out, but what are you doing as you hover in the air, maybe say 30 feet above the roof of this house?
I'm still just floating. I might try and sort of lower myself onto the roof for the moment.
Okay. I believe if you touch the ground, do you not lose the spell effectively?
I don't think so.
Possibly not.
It doesn't say anything about that.
Move that down. It's
says
kind of interesting. Yeah. I'll say sure. It's kind of a difficult one to explain exactly as you're moving, but as you're trying to move on the ground, you drift down to the roof of the house. You can hear through the roof, which isn't too thick. It's sort of a tiled roof that comes up to a peak. You're able to hear the sound of people within. Not many, but you hear a couple of people. You hear the sound of a couple of the windows, the wooden bolts and the windows being undone. And although there were no openable windows on the side of the house you were at, you hear the sound of again these a smash effectively come from the southeast corner of the house.
Okay.
But you bring yourself down to the roof again, maybe 25-30 feet up.
Yes, I'm gonna sort of kind of sit myself on the edge, my legs sort of dangling out, but not near a window, just with my arms.
Yeah, there's no windows too near. It seems like it's whatever they're trying to do it seems to be a relatively vain effort. But you hear the sound of like one or two windows being smashed in the same place. And again, one of the guards on the side of the house that you're at, this head guard sort of just has his arms crossed, is just looking at you going, "Oh, the commander is not going to like this, and the burgomaster definitely is not going to like this." As he just looks up at you.
And I'll talk to your commander myself when he gets here.
He is not one for talking.
I assume he's the 7-foot-tall burly bastard that I saw heading in this direction.
Yeah. He just sort of shrugs and says... In fact, he doesn't say anything. He just shrugs. You'll have to see yourself. I would say around this time, and this is interesting because the groups are arriving around the same time, being that the guards had a head start, but aren't really running more than walking quickly. You see maybe 100 feet or so, Zadie and Guzza sort of push through like the last set of houses and are sort of just running in that direction with the guards surrounding the building. At the same time, to the north of the house, maybe 100 or so feet away, you see again this hulking figure just make his way with the three guards sort of surrounding him, flanking him, just make his way definitely up towards where the house is. As he approaches again, the two of you that are running over, are you doing anything?
Rhea, what in Shantia's green fields are you doing up there? And oh wait, she's down on the ground again, isn't she now? Sorry.
Well, she's on the roof, but she's still on the roof.
Yeah,
It's like a lost cat.
Cool.
Yeah, and a couple of the guards turn around and sort of look at these two individuals sprinting their way over, and sort of he has his arms folded. There's before then drawing his blade as he sees you coming over, and he says, I suppose these are your other friends. That they don't seem very dead to me.
Howdy. No, that referring to another couple of fellers. Did she tell you what happened here?
Says, you speak when you're spoken to.
Okay.
And he sort of looks up at Ray at this point as a couple of the other guards make their way around the side of the house. So there's about 4 guards out this side of the house now. You can see those of you on the ground level can see through the windows just a couple of people moving by. In fact, you probably can't see through glass, weirdly, because of the way that blind sight works, like echolocation. But you're able to see and hear movement within the house. However, they sort of group around, not completely encircling you, but there's a definite wariness of these individuals, and you see the two of you at ground level and Rhea approaching this large, hulking, bald figure, again standing at least 7 foot tall. He towers probably, I don't quite know how tall Guzzer is exactly, but probably a little bit taller than you, Guzzer. You see as he walks his way over, this huge battle axe strapped to his back, and again, one of his arms seems normal, the other arm is sort of almost twisted and gnarled, much larger, almost spiky. It looks like that he's wearing a huge gauntlet on his hand as he sort of makes his way over. It hangs maybe a good half a foot to a foot lower than the other hand on the other side, but he just moves silently over. The only sound, just his footsteps, just this as he makes his way over. Who are you? Who is she? And he sort of, the other guard just steps back, folds his arms, and looks. There's almost a look of disconcertion in his face, but he has his arms folded with everyone else, all the other guards there with weapons drawn, sort of not surrounding you, but the other guy sort of comes up to the top side of you.
Is he looking? Sorry, is he?
He's looking at both of you, and you look at his eyes. They look almost soulless. His eyes are just sort of staring into you.
Sir, I believe there has been a. Sorry, Sadie.
No, you go. Fine.
Sir, I believe there's been a gross misunderstanding here, which involves our friend here and I, and that one. And I look to Rhea on the roof.
As you say that, and you look, the other guard who has his arms folded just says, Captain, this one decided to return to the scene of the crime, it would seem. And she seems to know more about what has happened here than, well, anyone else.
Yeah, we know all about what happened. I'm sorry.
As you say that, his head turns. He says, "Well, I suppose we have multiple people who have returned to the scene of the crime." And the large guard, the commander, just sort of looks across at you with your bandaged eyes and just sort of scowls slightly.
I'm sorry.
You will not.
Here. Are you the...
It's right. Go for it.
Are you the Burgermeister? Are you the guy who set up the festival for the Morning Lord? I'm so excited about that.
And you see him almost about to say something to you. Looks to the other guy. He says, "Seize them," and he just sort of gestures to you with. You see as his hand just gestures out. This gauntleted hand. It's not gauntleted. This is a large, twisted, gnarled hand, like spines growing out the backs of it almost. And huge sort of darkened fingernails stretching out. But as he gestures his hand up, you see almost the faintest of like orangey glows within the center as he just gestures his hand and says, "Seize them," to the two of you on the ground. And he just looks up at you, Rhea.
Hey, no,
and he just gestures up to you, just pointing with that hand. And he just holds his hand there for a little while. Whilst the others all start to, again, encircle you on the ground level. He says, Take them to my father. You will know what to do with them." As the other guy just looks at you and just says, "You made your bed, and this one," he gestures up to the roof. He says, "She has been bitten." And his eyes again, just although his hands sort of was starting to drop down, his head just turns back up, and the dark eyes just look up at you, just sort of smile slightly. "Pity for her." What are you guys doing as these guards start to sort of encroach in this area?
Whoa, sir.
We'll go peacefully. I understand how awful.
As you're saying this, the manacles are still being taken out. If you're not resisting, they sort of pull your arms roughly behind your back and just sort of clamp in they're pretty much like the square brackets with bolts that are slid in and effectively clicked into place, which are very hard to remove with either insane brute strength or the tools in which you use to remove these kind of manacles. And again, clip, like clasp them behind your back, both of you, unless you're doing anything to resist otherwise. And Rhea, as you're on the roof, you see as he's just sort of pointing his hand up at you. He says, "You come, or I shoot you down."
Fog cloud.
I swear to fuck. Sorry.
Oh, I'm looking at them shackling my 2 friends I have left. I'm like,
We're just gonna be like, come on, we can sort this out when we just talk. Come on.
Just our hands behind our backs being like, yep.
Really interested in talking.
I'm sure one of them will be.
Where are you taking them?
He just has his hand outstretched. He says, "Will you come?"
Not putting me in chains.
You see the center of his hand start to sort of twist and burn with fire. Your choice.
Rhea!
Ray, do not make me watch this. Get down now.
Ah, and I'll push myself off the edge.
Sure. And you just drift down within about maybe 10 feet or so of this hulking figure. Again, the fire in his hand you see is sort of starting to twist and writhe. And as it's only as you start to move down does it start to sort of rescind as he pulls his hand back in, and the flame just sort of dissipates within his hand. And a couple of the guards sort of move up to you. The one who was sort of leading them until this commander got here, sort of leans in and says, "You did a stupid thing. Stupid things are stupid." As the other guy just sort of stands there with his large hand just resting at one side, he just looks at you. Eyes you all, and you are effectively led collectively up the street, up through the top end of the stockyard, and along the main street, sort of in manacled, hands behind backs, with guards flanking you. A squad of about 8 guards come with. There are about 10 there at total. A couple are left behind. And the commander sort of starts to he actually moves on ahead, and has a short conversation with the other leading guard there before heading on again in front of you guys. But you're led part way across town through the sort of the southernmost route, but they in fact no through the northernmost route, as they seem to try to circumvent the town square at this point. But you do come down through the sort of the curve down on the road in the south central area, and you arrive at a rather large building. It looks a bit musty. It looks a little bit that it's definitely aged poorly. Some of the plaster's crumbling away on the walls. There's no, unlike the mansion in the village of Barovia where Ismark and Irina was staying, there's no sign of sort of evil having attacked this place, but there is a sign of age having sort of rotted it away. The windows aren't boarded up, but they're definitely draped with old, some slightly mothballed drapes as you're led up to the front door effectively. You see that there's a couple of townsfolk sort of coming in and out, but as this squadron of guards, they just give a wide berth, and you are led up to these large front doors which swing open, and you step into a mansion effectively. This mansion itself it's filled with bundles of twigs and wood. These large sort of almost like hay bales, small hay bales, maybe 3 or 4 foot high, but they're sort of lots of wood bundled in these bundles. You count at least half a dozen of them in front of you as you step in off to one side of this grand hallway that leads through the building. This building being one of the larger buildings in this entire town, with the exception of the church and possibly the inn. This is otherwise the largest building in the town that you've seen. You're led through into this hallway, and you're actually taken off to a room off to one side of the hallway, which seems to be actually a guest room where people are greeted. But it is it's filled with very, like, what I describe as sort of antiques, or at least antiquities. In terms of its design, the furniture is covered in these sort of the I don't know what you call them, those kind of the flowers that you often get on the top of fence poles. Gates. They're covered in slightly, again, mothballed furniture, and there's a few wardrobes filled with old china that hasn't been used for several years at least, but is there for display, and it's probably kept clean for display. You push past again another couple of townsfolk, it seems, who are a couple of whom are actually bundling these large bundles of wood and setting them down in the hallway. But again, as the guards push through and as you lose sight of the commander, who sort of makes his way up one of the stairs to the right as you come in. You're effectively led into this room with a few chairs, all set around a fireplace, and the guards just sort of push you into the back half of the room where there isn't anything. There's just an open space about 25 feet by 25 feet. And they push you in there. The guards have a bit of a conversation. You're left with about 5 guards sort of stationed in with you as you're all manacled. Your weapons are taken. Again, they're taken off of you. Especially the scythe is particularly something that they look at with surprise. Like, you know, it's pretty fucking big, right? So they take the scythe, they take the sickle, and
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Matt can't have his tools, sorry.
Afraid not. And they effectively disarm you, and these things are taken. You're left manacled up with the guards there. The guard leader that you saw has a quick conversation with the other guards before heading off as well. And you're left there again with these guys just watching you. Are you doing anything at all whilst this happens?
I'm looking very, very sulky. That's pretty much it from my end.
Just whispering under my breath, we could be wolf hunting right now.
Sure. So as you're waiting there, and any sort of things you say, the guards are like, "You're to be quiet until the Burgermeister comes." One of them just steps up and just strikes you across the face. It doesn't do any damage per se, but again, he just sort of, you know, he just strikes you, and again he looks at the rest of you, says, "The next time, you will lose a hand." And he just cracks his knuckles and again puts his hands back in front of him as he looks across all of you. But you wait for a few minutes as this takes place, as you're sort of in otherwise silence. A couple of the guards mutter a few things to one another, nothing loud enough for you to hear as they sort of talk between themselves. But after a few minutes, you hear the sound of a voice echoing down the hallway saying, "And what business do they have here?" And again another voice echoes back and says, Well, I suppose we'll have to see them, won't we? See what we have to do with them." And you see as the doors that are behind some of the guards swing them open almost instinctively as this voice approaches. And you see in the hallway standing a rather gaunt-looking man with 2 dogs flanking him on either side. These sort of mastiffs, big sort of mutton chops hanging at the sides of their mouths as they're large, like brown-skinned, muscly dogs, or brown-furred. As this rather pomped, dressed individual with his hair pulled back, receding hairline, but coiffed in a grey, almost bun at the back, and very faint makeup, just ever so slightly aligned on his face, step into the room, and he says, "And these are the folks you're speaking of?" And when the guard just sort of nods, the leading guard that you saw before says, "Well, welcome to Valaki. You are in the presence of the Burgermeister, but you are causing trouble." And he sort of looks across, having seemingly been briefed a little bit, looks across at Rhea specifically, but looks across at the other 2 of you as well. "Specifically this one. Why did you come to our town to cause trouble?"
Didn't
"Then why did you cause it?"
mean to. Suddenly I had guards surrounding me and trying to poke me with sharp things.
Ray, be polite.
Have to be polite when you're in the game.
You must respect the laws of a town like this, or else all will not be well.
I did not break any laws. I don't think.
You are disdainful and apparently abrasive to our guards, and you resisted approaching this place. That sounds like someone who does not want to acknowledge the laws and, by extension, disturb the peace. All will be well in this town, unless interlopers come and cause problems like yourself. So why, I ask you again, do you come here and cause trouble? We have a festival coming up in a few days, and anything of this nature that goes even slightly not towards this goal will be met with punishment. So why do you come to our town to cause problems? And you hear the dog sort of growling very slightly behind him as he has his hands clasped there, and you see slinking into view just this hulking guard, just behind the commander, just sort of watching, hands pressed together, or at least one hand engulfed by the other, just standing there, looming, saying nothing, just in the doorway of this room.
I'm gonna look at Zadie and Guzza with the kind of look of, I think I've said enough.
Well,
now, anyway.
Sir, if I may.
By all means, you're wasting my time, so... and the longer you take, the longer you'll have to spend in the stockades. So, he places his hands in front of him. Explain away.
I believe there has been a gross misunderstanding here in regards to my acquaintance here, and I look towards Rhea as I say that.
Seems pretty open and shut to me. But by all means, speak away. And speak fast.
If I may,
boy.
sir, you'll notice that there is a drawing within my pocket, and I'm just gonna be like, just like point towards that shelf.
Sure, I mean, your hands are bound behind your back, but you're able to sort of, indicate where it is, and
so much more fun than this.
like he sort of rolls his eyes slightly and says, looks over the gun and says, well, go on, find this drawing that he has. That will apparently absolve him and all of his friends of all the negativity they have been bringing to this town. And his eyes sort of like very much sort of wide-eyed.
You'll notice, sir, that this is clearly a drawing of someone that is of not sound mind. She has drawn something here that she is not thinking properly about. We have left her.
So
you say that to me.
It takes a little bit of time for them to find it exactly, but they pull it out and then unravel the image that Rhea drew previously and gave to Arena.
Just because Elliot hasn't had a chance to see it, and just in case anyone else, this is the drawing.
It's pretty fantastic.
Very good, very, very good. I like it. Good work.
House is on fire.
Thank you.
And they pull this out and open it up. But you actually say fuck you, Guzza. So,
see, it is not only in drawing that she is not well equipped, but it's her tongue that is also well misbehaved. She is under the guardian of this one here, and I point towards Zadie. It appears that she has lost her eye, so between them both it is a... How can I best put this? A guide dog intelligence sort of thing going on here?
Go ahead and make a deception. Go ahead and make a deception check.
With...
If there was such a thing as Eye of Death, I would be doing that to Guzza right now. Just glaring.
Fuck!
Glaring.
An 8 is pretty bad.
Plus 5 to it as well.
Well, dice not in your general charisma pool here, guys.
I thought 19. I thought 19. I keep going, but nope.
Oh no. That was a little while ago. Yeah, no, your 8 deception is not fantastic. As you sort of say this, he sort of raises his eyebrows. You know what? I'm gonna. In fact, I mean, there's enough of them there to sort of effectively brute force an insight in a way. But I mean, he's looking at you. His eyebrow raised, just goes, And this is pertinent to the case. Why you have come to our town, disturbed the peace, caused problems, and made people potentially scared. This is goes against most of our simple rules. Now, you say this is she's lost her mind. She seems, and he sort of just eyes you up, Rhea. From this is still from a good 5-10 feet away. He just eyes you up and leans in slightly. Goes, "What is your name, young one?"
Me?
Yeah, he's eyeing you and saying this to you.
My name is Rhea in Otha.
And why do you disturb the peace on this day? You still have not given an answer. And the longer time you waste, the longer you will spend in the stocks.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep my head clear and calm. I did not intend to disturb the peace. Last night, me and my companions were doing a favor for Father Lucian at the church. We were trying to track down the bones of a saint.
He sort of like, you see him like raise the eyebrow, and you see him almost like a smile come across his lips. You expect me to believe this? Carry on with your absurd story. It is just adding to the time you will spend in chains.
You will believe it or you won't. I'm just telling you this. We went to the house of the coffin maker, and we were attacked by vampires.
And again, you see his eyes are already quite wide, just in excitement or intrigue in the story, but he just looks at you with a piercing look. Says, "Go on."
We were chased out of the house. I had the bones that the coffin maker had stolen. 2 of our friends were killed, and I was bitten. All right, and apparently this is a very big deal.
As he says that, he scoffs at it. He goes, "Bitten by a vampire? Yes, this is a big deal. Of course it is."
Felt it like a big deal at the time, yes, but
And he just sort of looks at you. Says to one of the guards, "Check our teeth." And again, one of the guards apprehensively sort of goes, "Yes, Burgermaster," and he sort of approaches you and just sort of like effectively just like pushes up your gums to show your teeth.
oh yeah, I'm trained, aren't I?
Yeah, but I mean you're able to resist if you like, but
No, but make it clear I'm not happy about this.
sure. He sort of looks at the teeth. Well, you do not have the teeth of a vampire, but that does not mean you will not turn. Now, you expect me to believe this story? This high tale of returning the bones of a saint, you say, no less, that the coffin maker, a upstanding citizen of this town, has stolen.
That is the truth.
Yeah, go ahead and make a persuasion roll. I will say, unfortunately, due to the kind of the failure of the deception in the past and the fact that your story is that you're both just making stuff up. Well, not both making stuff up, but he's already none really believing one of you. Go ahead and make a persuasion check with disadvantage. Yeah.
Oh.
But it is persuasion, as opposed to deception.
I did put disadvantage. Okay.
5's pretty bad. He sort of again looks at both of you and Zadie, who's kind of kept relatively quiet here, but he just kind of furrows his brow at Zadie. Says, "And this one has lost her eyes. This is a sight for sore eyes, so to speak. Now," and he sort of looks across. He says, "Now, usually this is punishable by a. Well, there are many ways in which this could be punished. You have used my time now, on top of everything else, especially as we try to prepare for this festival, and my time is of great importance. Now, on top of this, you have disturbed the peace. You seem to know a lot about these vampires, and you are spreading rumors of vampires attacking this town, and it is nothing more than hearsay, as this town is safe, and all will be well." And as he says that, you kind of just see the guards kind of just nod slightly, just like almost in unison. Says, "Now, disturbing the peace, negativity, and gross misconduct are all punishable by time in the stocks. Now, you must understand, this is a town of positivity, this is a town of happiness and joy, and anyone trying to, how do I put this, circumvent that, wasting my time, and, using up our guards' time as well. You will spend time in the stocks until you understand that all will indeed be well. Do you have a problem understanding this?" He looks across at all three of you.
No, this is the most joyous town I've seen in a long time. You guys are just swell, and I was so looking forward to the festival. I'm so sorry that we did anything.
As you say that, like a smile almost spreads across his face. Like this, he's already got this kind of this intense glare, almost like a what's it called, overly attached girlfriend. The kind of like that kind of look. But like the kind of smile spreads across his face and says, "You speak of the festival, and you see you wear the garb of the Morning Lord. I have not had the pleasure of meeting you. Unfortunately, you seem to be in that company. What might your name be?" And he sort of looks across at you again, curiously with the whole blindfold situation.
I'm Zadie. Zadie Kell. It's lovely to meet you. Yeah, the first thing we heard when we came here was that there was a festival, and I was so excited. And yeah, I'm real sorry that it's ended up that we put that in jeopardy at all, because I was real looking forward to it.
He says, "And from where do you hail? I do not recognize you, nor do I recognize your companions here. This could be a fortuitous turn for them."
Well, we're from real far away. I have not settled on a city name.
Sure.
What was the town that we left?
Daggerford. Yeah, you left the city of, I believe, Neverwinter, headed down to Daggerford, and that is where everything started to transpire.
I'll drop Neverwinter in.
Sure. As you say that, he sort of just washes over him a little bit. He just says, "I do not know the place, but I'm sure it is grand."
Not as grand as here, sure. Definitely not as happy.
And again, he's got this
I roll
really
my
obscure
eyes
look
there.
as his eyes keep flitting from these people he wants to criminalize, and the person who hasn't spoken too much and is seemingly enjoying the festival. He says, "So, what do you are interested in the festival of the Blazing Sun, though?"
I've been worshipping the Morning Lord my whole life. He is just the best. I'm so glad that there's somewhere here that agrees, and in a town that's I've got my hands behind my back, and in a town that's so wonderful.
Chained?
Yeah, he said again. He looks almost exuberant at you. He says, "This is a." Sorry, you're gonna say something?
I was gonna say, can I see that he's getting quite excited?
Yeah.
And we were very disappointed to miss the werewolf jamboree.
He says, "No, we've had enough out of you." It seems like and one of the guards who's sort of behind you, having been checking your teeth, just kind of like just yanks on the chain slightly. He's sort of pulling your arms back just a little bit. And he says, "So this is most fortuitous then. We could use a little bit of help with the festival. It's supposed to be in 3 days, but we are still in the process of building the sun to be burned. Now, wood has been gathered, but..." And you see him mulling this over. He says, "It could be interesting to have a guest speaker for this year's festival. Now, your friends will be punished. They must learn the way that all will be well. You seem to understand this perfectly." And he sort of just looks at you, like trying to like still kind of questioning. Like, "You seem to understand this perfectly, yes?"
I mean, as far as I can work out, all is well.
And he says, "Perfect. You understand." And he looks at the other two of you and says, "You two could learn from her. Now, you still need time in the stocks. It is only fair. It is just punishment. You have wasted some of my people's time." He says,
Can I not do something other than the stocks?
he chuckles and says, "If you want to lose a hand, you can lose a hand. That is the alternative. Then you will be in the stocks." And he sort of starts sort of dictating to one of the guys. "This on this fine fortuitous day, Lord Vargas Velakovich decrees that Rhea and Othar will be assigned to the stocks for..." You see him sort of almost tallying up like an imaginary number in this flowerful way. 8 hours. And this one, I did not get your name." He looks at you sternly.
You can call me the Shepherd.
"And the fool that calls himself the Shepherd will be in the stocks for 4 hours. Beyond which, we will have a reconvening on your understanding of the nature of this place, of the joy that we spread, and by the end of it, you will be saying that all will be well."
I'm sure they will. They learn real fast.
Yeah, he looks at you sort of, again, he does that kind of thing where he's looking almost down, but like kind of in your direction. You're just, "Yes, this is the case. I will need to speak to you later, but in the meantime, take them away." And he sort of just waves his hand, and the guards immediately swing to action. You see that the large, like, hulking individual behind him just takes a step back, almost opening up space in the hallway, as the note that was basically decreed to be written has sort of been written out in this very sort of line by line way. He turns, he sort of looks at it, takes the quill off the other individual, just sort of does a quick with a flowery signature, hands the quill back, and just says, "Enjoy your days, people. I am very busy. The festival must be ready." And he sort of just darts off, starts heading down the hallway. His dogs that have just been sort of sat back, almost like somewhere basically both sitting between him and the hulking guard, immediately spring up to action and start sort of trotting alongside him as the guard sort of looks at you looming there, his big hand just hanging down by his knee, and he just slowly turns and starts walking down the hallway. The guards look at all of you and say, and again Zadie looks at one of them, the leader one who's sort of come back at this point, so looks at you and says, "It seems it is your lucky day. Your timing is perhaps a little bit fortuitous for yourself, your friends not so much." And he sort of looks at you and just says, "Now, you must understand, this is your own doing." But he undoes your manacles, Zadie, and he says, I would try hanging out with a less idiotic crowd. And he just like glares at Rhea. But you will be able to see them in the stocks. Do not try to interact with them, or you will find yourself in stocks yourself. And he sort of just nods his head and sort of beckons you to effectively leave the way you came, through the hallway with bundles of wood stacked on either side.
Okay, can I just say one thing to them?
I suppose so. The Burgermaster seems to have taken a shine to you.
Just do it. Please.
But
Please. Please.
Wait, you say that to Rhea and Gaza?
Please.
I mean, that could be interpreted in many ways, but yeah.
What does that mean?
yeah.
Sorry, that's made me
It
more confused.
reminds me of the the let him have it thing, the whole last guy who was hanged in the UK. Anyway, yes, yeah, sure. He sort of just stands there and says, so just stands there quietly, just sort of nods to you and says, "Are you ready to go?" To you, Zadie.
Sure. Have you guys got my mace?
He says, "Yes, of course."
You,
And he goes,
sorry.
goes and gets your mace and shield and gives them back to you, and says, "The stocks are in the town square to the east of here. This is where they will be, and hopefully they will understand that spreading happiness is the Burgermaster's way of saying this place is a good place." But he gestures for you to leave, and sort of, seems like there's no hard feelings between you and him, at least in his eye, and sort of gestures for you to go. Cool. So you're basically you're not so much escorted out as more watched from a distance as you go to the front door, which is still ajar. There are still people bundling these bunches of twigs in and out the front door, and he then turns to the other two of you who have, at this point there are still 5 guards there, 2 on either of you, and he is sort of standing there. He says, "No, I did not want to do this, but you gave me no choice. Take them to the stocks. Put them in the stocks. Make sure they are tight, safe." And he looks at both of you very sternly. Because if people try to interact with you, you keep yourself quiet, unless it is to praise how the place will that everything will be well. Then you may say that. That is all you may say. He looks at one of the guards. He says, "Dario here will be watching you whilst you are in the stocks." And Dario, you hear this sort of like this. "Ah, really?" And he's like, "Someone needs to watch them." And once
If I may.
he sort of goes, "I will allow you this one."
Now, my maths ain't all that good, but you said I got here them 4 hours, and she got him there 8 hours.
He nods.
Perhaps I take 2 of them that hours, and we call it 6 hours apiece.
He says, you see him thinking for a moment. He says, "If you wish to have 6 hours, you may have 6 hours." And he just looks at you.
As long as she has 6 too, of course. So.
He goes, "I don't think so. The Burgermaster says she has 8. She has 8 hours. She will be here till nightfall."
Then I bet you make that 2 lots of 8 hours.
He chuckles and says,
don't.
Whatever you say, strange one." And you see him take out the note that he has and sort of amend a number in there and just says,
No, you don't have. Please. He
just,
doesn't.
he puts his hand up and again just says, "You may not speak. He gave 1. Now you both may not speak." And he leads you out effectively. He leads the other guards, sort of pushing you guys along. And as you walk through the town, as you make your way sort of east and then south towards the town square, where there are a few dozen people sort of spotted around the place, there's no real big congregation. You see these sets of stocks. There are 4 sets of stocks, 2 sort of facing each other, 2 sets on either side facing each other in a sort of a V.
I will right there, by the way.
Sure, yeah. You're pretty much waiting near them. As they make their way out and sort of look at you, they say, "You must stand back, and if you interact with them, they will be here longer. You will not."
I understand.
And he sort of nods. And as you're brought out, he pulls out a small sort of hammer and nail kind of thing from a bag on his back. As you're bound up, put in these stocks, left standing again with your hands. Your hands are demanacled before put in the stocks next to you, and they are clamped down. It's a bit tight for you, Guzza, being quite thick-necked. Zadie, it's less tight for you, but they do.
I'm out.
Right, God damn it, yeah. Sorry, this is what happened. I have 3 characters to focus on at the moment, and I'm gonna get the names wrong. Rhea, you're clamped in again. It's uncomfortable, but your hands are again jarred in front of you. They bind, effectively put a gag of sorts in both of your mouths, just to stop you from speaking. And you're effectively left facing the ground. You hear him sort of tunk 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 nailing something into some wood, which Zadie you see is effectively the decree that was written out. It has their names. It has the shepherd. It doesn't say the idiot who calls himself the shepherd. It just says the shepherd, and it is signed in this very flowery thing that just says. You can make out the kind of the big B, the big V. Sorry, the big. What is it? Yeah, big B, big V. Effectively, it's yeah. You can't. Fuck yeah, you can't. Fuck, you're the worst. You can't see any of it. He pins up a note. You don't know what it means, but you have some idea as to what it says. Yeah.
I'm gonna go get Arena.
Sure. Funnily enough, Arena's not too far away, and as this is pinned up, you hear him sort of seemingly reel out a spiel that seems to be pretty standard fare for anyone who's put in the stocks. He says, "These people here today have been put in the stocks for," and he sort of lists off the crimes that they've committed, which is effectively negativity, disturbing the peace, and resisting arrest is effectively what is listed off. He reads this off. He details how long they must be in the stocks, and a few people sort of gather briefly for a little while, kind of watch it. A couple of people faintly cheer in a way, because he ends his decree with, he says that these people did not wish that the town was safe and did not wish that everything would be well, but as we all know, all will be well. And he reads this out, and you hear a couple of voices, seemingly a bit sort of lackluster in a way, but off spread around the square, just go, "All will be well," sort of like across the town.
Enthusiastically.
There's like one really enthusiastic voice sort of off in the distance. You can't really see who it is because of the number of people, and you guys can't see who it is because you're bound and face down, facing the dirt, but you are effectively left in the stocks. I mean, that is where you are. I would ask you what you want to do, but you hear and see as a few of the guards move away. The one remaining guard, Dario, appears to be standing just in between the 2 stocks that you're in. You're both on one side, and he's sort of standing there. You can just about see his legs, but your hands are bound. Clamped in alongside your heads, and yeah, pretty much. And Zadie, you sort of stand there seeing this. Are you doing anything in particular besides, or are you just heading straight to try and find Irina?
Go find Arena.
Okay, it's not long before you find her. She's she's actually not quite in this square. She's in one of the buildings off to one side, but you see as she leaves it, carrying a couple of sort of loaves of bread. It's sort of bundled into sort of effectively like brown paper. And as she sort of sees you, she sort of looks up and goes, "Oh, I didn't expect to see you back here. How was the show?"
Oh, it's going great.
Still going. Sorry.
All is well.
Turned into a fast.
We need to do a bit of shopping. We need like a lot of alcohol and some cake, maybe.
She sort of looks quizzically and says, "I did not think of buying any alcohol. I did not think." She sort of looks at you.
You wouldn't have. And also, are we in a private-ish?
Sure, you're able to pull off to one side and sort of in an alleyway, and with your blind sight, you detect that no one's nearby.
Okay. Ray and Guzzer are in the stock. Right. Turns out this town not kindly to anything, so just smile and don't talk to them, and they'll be out by the end of the day and everything's fine. But yeah, you ain't here. It's not good.
Yeah, there's a brief moment of like, but you kind of explain it in a calm enough way that she's just like, okay, can I ask how this happened? Did she try to burn the house down?
Good question. Sorry.
You know, I don't
No.
know, but I think just the fact that we were where that thing happened got us. Like they didn't even care what happened. We still haven't even found our friend. don't even know how we're gonna do that.
She sort of looks and says, "You mean their bodies? Is that?"
I mean, probably, but I gotta. They'd be all alone.
She
And
sighs.
either way, they need me because they can pass on without the rats, and I know Richter didn't believe in it, but you know, it'd still work.
She sort of sighs slightly and just again places her hand on his shoulder and just says, "One problem at a time. I guess we have to wait for them to get out of the stocks." And again, you hear a bit of a jeer come from the few people congregated nearby, and it's not a there are people in the way, but you're able to sort of see through enough. You're able to see Guzzer's sort of larger form at least sticking out the back of the stocks. As you glance over, she glances over and she just kind of cringes slightly.
They're gonna be real sore when they get out, so we should get them a real nice.
Yes. And you see her kind of looking dejected and somewhat lost in a way. But we will. You said how long?
I think 8 hours for Ray, maybe only 4 for Guzzer, but I don't know.
Yeah, she sort of not saying just okay.
Not
Well,
quite.
we will have to. I suppose we can go buy that alcohol whilst we wait. And I think it sounds like you've done enough of a good deed that the father will at least let you keep it in the church. And she sort of starts to lead you off to go purchase alcohol. And that's where we'll take a break. We'll take a break for 15 minutes. So back at 9:25. Sorry, Snake. Sorry, Elliot. Things happened.
I did not intend.
Not at all. I'm
Highest
very much
intelligence.
enjoying
That's
Intelligence.
You're the
Highest
coward!
intelligence. Hey guards, check out these cool bite marks I got.
Yeah.
Forgive me while I
fucking
shout at
blown.
Sophie for 15 minutes. Sorry.
Mine was just blown. It like, just melted.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Thank you guys. Obviously, we'll be thanking everyone who is following, donating, hosting as well. Really appreciate it. But we'll thank you all at the end of the session. In the meantime, we'll be right back. And I believe my break screen's working now. I think. I tried last week. It started to fuck everything, and the stream was dying because of it. So hopefully the break screen works. It's pretty simple, much like the intro screen, but hopefully you guys enjoy it. So we'll see you in a bit.
See you.
And we're back. Thank you for waiting. Cool. I mean, we left off with fucking shit show because why not? We don't have any other way. So you guys are in the stocks. Meanwhile, Zadie and Irina are not in the stocks, and you're sort of bouncing around town. I kind of want to expedite this a little bit, but you messaged me about what you want to pick up. You're totally fine to pick them up. I'd say. It's going to be a tough one to dictate. I'd say if you're looking for, like, say, a set, I'd say you could probably get, like, a dozen for maybe 3 silver. Something like that. They're not expensive. So, yeah, you're able to pick up maybe a dozen, you know, just from one of the stores in this place, whilst the others are stockaded up. The time goes on, and Irina will also confirm with you that it is, in fact, 8 hours for the both of them. It was about...
Yeah, I mean, once we've got all the stuff, we'll sit and watch, but not interrupt.
Yeah. As time goes on, I mean, you go buy some stuff again. Irina had already picked up a fair bit of stuff during this whole escapade. You know, she picked up, you know, clean water, basically rations for the group of you, as well as some fresh bread and some also salted meats, because most meat has to be salted without proper refrigeration. So you return after stowing that stuff away in your current temporary room in the church, as you do still have some of your stuff, I would assume, in the Blue Water Inn, but you store the stuff in the church nonetheless. Make your way back to effectively observe this. There's no seating, but you're able to sit on the ground if you choose. It's not wet. It's hard earth, where you get some people sort of almost sympathizing from a distance, others, you know, scowling at these idiots, these unknowns who have got themselves, you know, chained up or put up in the stockades for whatever stupid reason. Some people come up, read the sign, and sort of just spit in their direction and move on. But no one seems to interact with them in a positive or negative way. Or sorry, in a massively positive or massively negative way. There are some people who, you know, you can almost see eyeing them up, considering throwing some shit at them effectively, but they choose not to, based off of the sheer size of at least one of the individuals in the stockades, and the sort of rough look of Guzza in that regard. The sort of intimidation does help. But the time passes on, the sun sets, it gets to about 6 or 7, the guards rotate as well, and the shops and stalls start to shut down for the evening. Lanterns are lit. This glow comes across the whole area relatively quickly. There are even some lanterns behind the stockades on effectively lampposts, which are hooked up and hooked down and lit and brought back up. So the actual area is pretty well lit, but it's comes to about sort of 7 or so in the evening before the guard sort of turns to you guys in the stockades, and you just, without even saying anything, just starts to unlatch the stockades and climb them out. Your necks and backs and arms are really sore. Even with your strength, Guzza, the weight of the armor sort of constantly on your back, as you've kind of just had to lean on your wrists and your throat almost for about 8 hours, is particularly painful. I'd say both of you straight up suffer a point of exhaustion for your troubles, it's not even that you had to do anything physically exerting, just both the mental taxing of it, the mentally taxing nature of it, as well as the, you know, stress that it puts you under. You both just take a point of exhaustion for that. But they're taken off. The guard just sort of turns to you and says, "Now," you see him stumbling over his words slightly. He points to you, Ray. Says, "The Burgomaster wants to see you tomorrow. He wants to ensure that you are of sound mind." And he kind of looks across at you, Gaza, as he was one of the guards who was there during the conversation. He sort of looks at you almost with a slight smirk on his face before looking back at Rhea. And
I give a cheeky wink. Excuse me. I give a cheeky wink back as well to him. As he does that smile.
He scowls slightly and says, and he also wants a physician to look over you to make sure that this is temporary. That being said, go on with your evenings. And he sort of looks at you and says, where are you staying? Mainly directed towards Rhea.
At this point, combination of freedom being taken away and very, very bad memories being brought back, I look kind of broken right now.
She's with me, so I'll take her home.
And he says, and then where are you staying?
The inn not too far from here. Perhaps the church. Have you heard the things?
Says, you must confirm with me where you're staying tonight. At least where she is staying tonight. We will send a dispatch of guards to pick her up in the morning, to bring her to the burgomaster's house, to have her checked out. Make sure that everything is not going downhill with this.
We'll be at the Morning Lord's Church.
He sort of nods and says, Church of St. Andrew. Okay. And at that point he sort of just gestures to you and says, go on with your day.
I'll rush up to them and just like look at guards, check to go up.
He just sort of just shrugs and things like that, but he does say, your weapons will be returned to you on the contingency that she comes to the burgomaster's tomorrow morning. And he then just sort of turns and says, now you may go, and just effectively walks off.
Right, so we have to pay another
I'm gonna give Ray a massive hug and just be like, I'm so sorry I left you there. I just did not want them to take your hand.
I just sort of don't say anything. I just push it to one side and I just start walking away.
Yeah, and Arena is kind of like awkwardly just hovering, like nearby, sort of over Zadie's shoulder. But you just start walking off. Where you headed off to?
In the direction of the inn.
Okay, so you just you effectively head just up off to the left a little bit and just start walking up.
I'm gonna shout, Rhea, wait up, and we're gonna sort of run next to you, but just not say anything with my head lowered as well. Just sort of just taking the moment to walk with you.
Yeah, me and Arena.
Yeah, she's just kind of walking, sort of nervously, her hands again, sort of wringing her hands a little bit as she just kind of walks next to you, but not really saying anything, Zadie. But you said you catch up with Rhea? Gaza?
I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying nothing, mate. Just keeping my head.
Okay, you're not saying anything. Okay. So you make your way to the tavern. Again, the wolf hunter's not there. You notice there are a few patrons, none of which you recognise besides the pointed ear fellow who sort of just sits there, reading a book. It seems in his similarly sort of subdued but colourful garb, and he just sort of flicks through. His head sort of looks up as he sees you come in, and he just goes back to his reading. But you make your way into the tavern. You recognise, of course, the innkeeper, and you just suddenly in for the night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to just probably mimic close to whatever Ray is doing this evening, I think, just considering all things.
Sure. So, Irina a couple of times tries to sort of start up a bit of conversation, but after trying once and having this relative silence roll over, she just, again, moves into a more reactive state where she's just sort of watching, looking to jump on any conversation that you guys are willing to have and start, but reading the mood of the room, it's pretty difficult. She does list off the supplies she's bought. She's effectively bought, this would be for everyone, about another 5 days just of foodstuffs for travel, like 3 meals foodstuffs. She refuses any payment if you guys offer to pay her back for it, but that's effectively all she's been able to pick up. That, and it's food, water, and everything like that. And Zadie, you would have seen some of the stuff that you were browsing. She did show some curiosity in as you went sort of past a blacksmith. So blacksmith is just off the main square, but she didn't actually head in. She just sort of had a curiosity and then sort of, stepped back. And she is sort of pretty well armored for her. It's quite a nice breastplate she wears. But are you guys doing anything tonight?
Didn't us be at the church?
You heading to the church? Okay, so you'll
Yeah, I'll follow.
sure you'll make your way there. The father sees you as you come in. He's just looking at you, collective, and there's a look of like disdain on his face. You get the sense that as you see the congregation is there, it is smaller than the congregation that was there last night, but there are some faces you didn't see there before. It seems that although the father sort of didn't want to spread the word too much, it seems the word has somewhat spread a little bit of what happened last night. And equally, you must have been seen by someone in the town square at the night as he sort of sees you looking at Rhea and Gaza from what he's probably heard, and just she looks at you two and says, "You get yourselves in trouble today. I heard of your I heard that you're in the stocks. Perhaps I should have warned you a bit more clearly about the Burgomaster."
Yeah,
Different.
he had not realized that.
All must be well.
I guess we did not realize just that. Do you know any way that we're going to be able to
Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit, Sean.
is there any way we're going to be able to find our friends without causing trouble?
He sort of shrugs and says, I do not know. I mean, I pray for them, but I have no idea where they would be. And I mean, you have a visual of the last thing you saw, Richter's body being carried away by a vampire. The other visual you may have had, based off of where you were, was Trundle's body torn to pieces by vampires, like limb from limb, practically. So, but again, you haven't shared that with the father beyond that they've gone. So he just doesn't really know how to offer advice. He sort of just shrugs and says, I sympathise with your losses, but I do not know where they would be. Can ask around, I suppose, but when you're coming up to a festival like this, as you seem to have learned the hard way, you do not, must be positive about the festival, and that is, even if you're negative, even if it is not to do with the festival. Well, what's that?
The festival's a week.
It's not a week long, it is at the end of a week. But yes, they are more or less every week, or most weeks at least, when the Mega Massacre can be driven to host as many as he can for as many reasons as he can. He's not a bad man, but he seems to have some ideal that this will make a difference. I suppose hope is better than no hope, but he sort of looks across the altar. He says, "I will reserve myself to prayer." But he's sort of, beyond that, he's not really stirring any other conversation. So what are you guys up to?
I'm still in the funk, so I'm just gonna wander towards the nearest corner, prop myself up in it, and just use my coat as a kind of cushion and just.
What time is it roughly? Sorry.
It's only about 9 p.m. I mean, at least you two are tired-ish. You've been in the stocks. But yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna grab one of the bottles that me and Irene brought over to Ray, crouch down by her, and hold it out and just be like, "Think, hello."
It's a bottle of wine. It just says on it, purple grape, I think grape mash. It's pretty basically labelled, but that says the Wizard of Wines above that.
I just take the bottle off her and start knocking it back.
Sure. You start just belting the alcohol down.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, you're tired. The combination of being tired with the drink, with the fact you haven't really eaten since the morning, kind of leads you into a position where, you know, it numbs you quite quickly. Warms you up a little bit, but I mean, unless you're doing anything, you fall into a sort of a slumber pretty quickly. The other two of you, is there anything you're doing before heading to bed?
Unless I can get any more out of what Zadie thinks about her unknowingness of what she is, then
I mean,
I'm probably having an early
like, I will try and grab you or.
Sure.
Zadie will.
Yeah, Sean, just as a note, I don't know if it's on my end or not. You seem to be cutting out just a little bit when you say certain things.
Yeah.
You could try lowering the thingy a little bit. And then lower the number of decibels, whatever it is.
Thingy.
The voice picker upper, or moving the mic so it's just a bit more central. I don't know.
Sensitivity.
How's
Yeah,
this?
yeah. But just so we can pick you up a little bit clearer, because I want to be able to hear what you say. Try again.
How's this?
I mean, it seems fine. We'll see. We'll play it out a little bit. But yeah, it's got to go left. I don't know which. It's got to lower the minus decibels, whatever it is, for the pickup point.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I it's my computer, not the mic.
Oh, it could well be. Yeah. But cool. I just wanted to address that. Cool. So yeah, I mean, you guys effectively post up for the night, resting up in the church until the morning comes, where. Unlike
Did
Yeah.
Gaza want to?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Again, I got distracted. Yeah, okay, yeah. You take her aside again. You have the room is still set aside for you. Irina has another room that sort of she's able to stay in. She bids you all good night as she heads in, and you guys are left with the room as Rhea at this point is kind of asleep out on behind, like at the back of the church, effectively. And the people.
Is there any wine left in the glass that you poured for Rhea?
So I gave her a bottle.
Oh, you took the whole
have another
bottle?
We
Oh,
bought
yes.
a lot.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's some, but
Cool.
yeah.
There is one less bottle.
I don't think I'm dexterous enough, so I'll do this one at a time. So with firstly, I'll grab the wine bottle and pour a small glass for each of us. And then as I'm doing this, I'm going to reach my hand and grab the second bottle of water and put that in another glass. So there's two glasses in front of us, one of water and one of wine. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to ask. So they gone to bed now. You ready to start talking?
I mean, for one, I just want to say sorry about today. I was real worried that Starks might mean something different, and I thought one of us should be out with a weapon just in case.
No, I understand him. This will go in the morning. I've been in worse.
Feeling okay?
Yeah, you?
I mean, I feel bad.
We all feel bad. It's what
I'm
else you
worried
feel.
about Richter and Trundle. They're either out there alone or stuck.
I mean, it's the dead of night. But I'm feeling real tired, Sadie. I could do with some rest. I mean, I'll go if you want me to go, but
Oh, no. I don't think it's a good idea to go now. Especially if they didn't actually all the vampires. That seems...
I mean, you
we're
seem
not making super smart decisions, but that seems like one bad.
Sure. I mean, you made real good friends with that Burgermeister.
He reminds me of my
Again.
daddy.
Duly noted. Is there a possibility that he might be able to have him help us with all this? Maybe allow him or have him give us access to that place, so we don't go spooking no guards no more.
I don't know, if he's saying all be well, then he's probably not going to let anything even vaguely try. But folks like that, it closed up.
Well, if they got guards during the day, they got guards during the night as well. So we can know nothing leaving there anytime soon. So,
I was telling the truth when I said I didn't know what I was. I didn't know I was undead. Tell.
I mean, you here in this place. Is undead
Well,
really what we can call you?
I don't feel it. Feel the same for the eyes.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure I understand that. Both physically and mechanically, but we will discuss that as and when it comes up.
But you are, yeah, as you
I can't read. I got that.
yeah, as you have noted though, Gaza, this place that you are in right now is consecrated ground, and it is warded against undead. And yet, as you noted,
Actually,
And when I tried to turn undead, I didn't turn myself, which I was a little bit worried about.
if I do that,
Mhm.
and it talks about consecrated ground in that, I assume
The
this
place
whole thing is just
glowing.
glowing. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, the floors and the walls are effectively sort of. It's not like a bright glow, but it's like a layer of almost like gold dust on everything that shimmers for a while. Zadie reads as undead.
Fuck.
It sort of burns. It's kind of like it's almost like it gives you like a tick almost for a moment when you feel it. There's a sense of you know, you need to like it's against what you're about in a lot of ways, and it does like send your skin crawling slightly. But she's on this ground. It doesn't make sense. You know, it just doesn't add up. You know, you're not the smartest of most researched of individuals, but this doesn't make sense. You know, it doesn't make sense that she could be here on this ground, which you sense as consecrated ground, which quite literally wards against such things.
Sure. I think it's a way to sort of like comfort myself. I tell myself, this must just because you're in the house of Pelor. If this was in Shanti, it'd be a different story. You'd get it all. I just don't understand this god. I get gods, I get faith now, but just this doesn't quite make sense. Shantia's house, whole different story. And yeah, I go. I don't quite get it, Robbie here, but you seem good, and I think we could all do with good right now. But if you don't mind me asking, we how can I say this? Did things your way, or I guess you could say Rhea's way today? Any chance we can do things my way tomorrow and go on that there wolf hunting? It's almost like salivating as I say it.
Well, I mean, we have to go get your weapons first, but yeah.
Oh, darn it. I mean, I could rip one off with my hands if I really tried, but I don't think I'm ready to do that. Knowing our luck, we probably gonna be not be able to pick up our weapons before those wolf boys go. Probably gonna cost us a couple more gold, keeping them there.
I mean,
Our god does work in mysterious ways. I saw you pay last time here, and I'll give her the 2 gold and 5 pieces, assuming that's what it'll cost us to keep them there for an hour.
oh no, don't worry, I got it. Fine.
I cannot keep accepting this.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna run out
Yeah.
eventually, but there ain't nothing else around, though.
Well, Shanti's blessing upon you too. I think it's the first time after all this faith stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably give it back to you. I'm awful tired. Maybe we talk later as well.
Okay.
You're like a slumber party, like little kids, like we're going to bed, but so we need to talk while sleeping. Yeah, no. So.
Which boy do you like?
Have you seen his eyes? He's so dreamy.
So you fall asleep after discussing how dreamy Father Lucian is. You drift off, and weirdly enough, despite being in this place, you do have dreams. These aren't dreams as invasive and as personal and as real or as burning bright as some of the previous dreams you've had, or visions. I wouldn't even call them dreams. Wouldn't quite border them as nightmares, visions. But what you do see, your mind flutters and it brings you back to the table. The table upon which 5 cards were laid and subsequently flipped, and I fucked them up, so they were then changed and flipped again. But the 5 cards appear, and you just see as they revolve slowly in your mind, just turning. You see a monk, you see a abjurer, you see other pictures, and the vision of a soldier just again flicker through your mind. But again, it's just a brief thing. It teases at your memory before you awaken in the morning. The same otherwise peaceful sleep you have. Rare, you don't have any dreams. You're drinking, so you wake up kind of feeling not hungover, but just a little bit kind of that kind of slow, groggy, slight feeling as you first wake up, and you wake up later than the others. As the two of you wake at normal early hours, both with the knowledge that Rhea needs to be taken somewhere, and you know that you've already let these guys down once. You don't know how many times it would happen again and again, although they seem perfectly content taking your coin for free, effectively. So you awake in the morning. What do you do, the two of you?
Let's guys.
Yeah. What time? Sorry. What time do we know that the meeting with the Burgmeister is?
You're told
are we going to miss these hunter boys?
You're told it was early morning, and you don't know.
Oh shit! Sorry, I want to.
Fetch us on.
Sorry, Shauna, you're really quiet for me. I'm gonna.
Yeah, me
Be
too,
quiet.
actually.
They're coming to fetch us, right?
That's better, actually.
No, that's not better. Yes, they are. They are coming to grab you.
Can I head towards the tavern to try and find them again in case they're going to run away?
Sure.
Just to hold them for a couple hours.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you step outside, it is pretty early morning. You went to bed earlier. Both of you have lost your exhaustion. Rhea and Guzza. But you make your way outside and start heading in that direction. As you're sort of reaching the most of the way there, a group of guards does come the other way, kind of look straight past you. You don't recognize you recognize one of them. They don't really pay you any heed as you walk by, but they seem to be, there's a group of 5 guards making their way in that direction towards the church. But you make it to the Blue Water Inn, which there's a bit of activity, and inside are both of the guys, Soldar and Yevgeny, are both sitting there at the same table as always. It seems. Soldar is he's got a sort of a small whittling knife and has his bow and is just busy sort of cutting out a couple of chunks, like small carvings into the bow. He's sort of notching it, just sort of making it. As soon as you come, he hails you over. Says, "Hey, so you're here on the hunt. Your friends are still not here."
We are having not the best time.
Oh, you're heading in as well. Okay, my bad. Sorry, I thought you were.
Yeah,
just...
no, I went with because I'm not
No,
needed, right?
Effectively, no.
Always you're needed, Sean. Don't be daft.
Yeah.
I'm waiting
I'm
at
a
the
bodyguard.
church. I'm assuming.
Yeah, you come to after the others have already sort of headed off.
Yeah.
The father brings you a cup of water, sort of ignores the fact that there's like a empty bottle of wine next to you, and sort of comes and sits you up on one of the pews, and he just talks to you for a little while. Not like he doesn't preach anything to you. He just sits with you and talks. But yeah, you are effectively waiting. Sorry, as you're speaking to Soldar, so what did you say, Sean? Apologies. Sorry, I heard you, but I sidetracked. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, we have not been having the best time, so we can't head out super early today. We might be able to head out later today.
You see them sort of like look at each other and sort of wear it up, and Soldar, again, more or less fully bald, but longer hair behind, sort of. He just glances up and says, "Well, if you want us to wait, we wait. But we'll preferably get out on a hunt today. It's how we make our living, after all. And you have paid. I'm happy to wait." But he sort of just shrugs a little bit. Says, eh.
Cool. How about if we ain't turned up by midday, you guys head off and we'll pay again tomorrow.
He nods and says, we probably would have head off anyway. So yes, it is fine by us. And he's just sort of finishing this, like cutting this notch. You look at his bow at this point. You see that there are like dozens of notches all along the bow. And he's sort of at this point he's probably maybe 2/3 the way down, but he's got it resting on the chair, so it's actually like raised up above his head. He's just sort of carving a notch into it. But he just sort of agrees, and Yevgeny's just sitting there, just picking his teeth, and doesn't say anything, but nods in agreement.
Okay, we'll run back to them.
Yeah, I'm like, we'll be back at midday. I'm like, please, Sadie, like, give me this.
I want to.
Yeah. So yeah, you rush your way back. Before you get back, although the meeting was relatively quick there, the guards have arrived at the church. One of them heads in, finds you, Rhea, without any real issue, and just says, "If you'd like to come with us, the Burgomaster would like to see you." And Father Lucien sort of stands up and like looks at you slightly nervously. He says, "Are you sure about this?" And he's just the guard just nods. He says, "We can walk with you, or we can take you in chains. The choice is yours."
No, please, no chains. I can't anymore.
He just sort of
I will
steps
be
aside and
quiet.
gestures for you to walk out to the front door. And the father sort of, reluctantly steps aside as well, and just says, "You're always welcome here. Make sure you come back, okay?"
Oh, thank you.
And Irina around this point is probably in the church as well, but knowing you probably would have talked about this to her, or she would have been there and had the understanding of what's going on. You're led out to these guards and as you're heading through town, you do cross paths, or you guys catch up with the group of guards that's escorting her. They're not escorting her and like surrounding her with blades drawn or anything. There's just about there's effectively sort of just 3 behind her, 2 to either, like 1 to either side, just walking with her in a sort of a U formation, just making sure that she doesn't abscond off anywhere. And yeah, you guys catch up with them, and the guard that recognizes you sort of just calls over to stop for a moment, because seeing you approach, he says, "Can we help you at all? You're looking to reclaim your weapons?" And he's looking at you, Gaza. Then it's best you come with.
Yes.
And he sort of just gestures for you to walk alongside, and again leads the collective of you, unless you're going to ask anything else, because you were mid-sentence before I just said that.
I was going to shout, "What do you think?" And then Guzza smartly was like, "Yes."
Sure. Nice. I like that. So he leads you guys to the Burgomeister's. You come back into the hallway of the mansion, and there's some more bundles of wood. They've stacked higher. It looks pretty cool, or at least it looks like something's taking shape. But you're led past, and the Burgomeister's actually waiting in a different room this time. This room is nicer. It's still a bit musty. The whole place is just a little bit musty and seems to be overly decorated. The Burgomeister is slightly more. His cheekbones have been accentuated slightly more with makeup. Again, it's very faint. It's not like a really thick sort of I don't know what you call it, but stage makeup or anything like that. It's relatively subtle, but it is done to sort of elevate him slightly. And as he sits there, as you approach in this sort of armchair, the guards pull to one side and effectively just bar the exit of the room. And he sort of sits there, standing up as you come in. He says, "So, I hope you enjoyed your time in the stocks. What have you learned?" And he just looks at you. Again, I would say at this point they probably would have separated the other 2 of you from this situation. Guzzy, you're kind of there, but this is being very much directed towards Rhea. So what have you learned? And he clasps his hands together.
I've learned that you do not cause trouble in Valaki. You do not upset your guards, or your people.
And most of all,
I mean, could I read this situation?
yeah,
How
you're next.
Guzza can read the situation.
You're next to her effectively, but it's kind of a little bit back. Yes.
I mean, sorry, I actually
There's
don't
like
know. I mean, I'm hoping Guzza knows. At this point, I'm like,
Does anyone know? Does
Pray
anyone know? And I'm asking the party here. Snake and inclusive.
I'm dead. I can't help.
Yep, I'm dead too.
Sean, you're muted for some reason.
Yeah,
Yeah, it seems that
you're
way.
gone quiet.
You are
I
muted. We can't hear you.
at all. Yeah,
But
something's gone wrong. Something's gone spectacularly badly
Oh my
wrong.
god.
you're either miming amazingly or you're muted. Yeah.
A sign of how alone you truly are.
Try unplugging and plugging back in again, I
Wow.
suppose. But what I would say is that the saying that has been repeated by the Burgermeister many times is
Warm as fuck. Shit.
no. Okay, cool. No one's got it. No one's got it.
Wait for
No,
us to-
I have. I've got it. I've
Oh,
got
Oh, you're back.
okay. Yeah, I mean, and there's a long, extended, awkward pause, but Zadie,
it. They have learned that all will be well.
and
Oh,
as you see his like face slowly dropping, he hears it come from you, sort of behind this wall of guards blocking the entrance to the room, and he sort of looks at both of you, or mainly Rhea, eyes sort of flitting up to Gaza. And so you have learned.
And as she starts saying it, I sort of twig and go, "All will be well."
Will be well.
Perfect. You've learned that all will be well in the town of Valaki.
Festivals and wellness all round.
Yes, you're starting to get the hang of it. I would ask you to make a deception check, but it's not needed. He sort of, again, he clasps his hands together and just says, if you are seen around town spreading negativity again, all will not be well. But as it stands now, all will be well. The festival is in 2 days, and may we go about our days with happiness. But, and he sort of gestures to you, Ray, he says, I will need one of my colleagues to just examine this. He sort of gestures like this, sort of hurriedly at his own neck, but in reference to you. He says, "Do have a quick look at this
Why
to
would
make sure that
anyone
nothing is
possibly confuse you?"
spreading." And he sort of gestures for everyone else to leave, like beckons you all away. And the guards he'll leave about 3 guards. 2 or 3 guards will stay. The other ones will escort those of you out, handing you your scythe and your sickle, Gaza, returning them to you. But as he sort of looks at you, Ray, he just says, "Take a seat. He will be here momentarily." And he sort of gestures to one of the guards, who just darts upstairs and comes back about a minute or so later, whilst you have this sort of awkward thing where he's sitting there, just looking at you, sitting in the chair, and a rather thin, lithe man with again greying hair, a bit of a receding hairline, wearing pretty like plain white clothes with some small stains on them. He looks like he could be somewhere between a doctor and a butcher, and wears a small set of eyeglasses that pinch very very closely to his long crooked nose. He sort of comes in and says, "I have been told you're here. I'm here to check your wound. Please, it's just if you don't mind." And he just sort of just,
I'll keep my hands back and just
Yeah.
Just let him.
yeah.
Go.
And he sort of just pulls it back, and you hear him sort of muttering to himself, "Yes, this is I've seen 1 or 2 like this before, but." And he starts sort of like prodding and poking it. He has like a small sort of belt of things that he seems to pull out. There you see what look like scissors and like calipers and clippers kind of things all in there, but he seems to pull out a couple of just almost wire tools with which he prods it and kind of presses the outside of the wound. You feel it's quite painful, and you feel the slow trickling of a little bit of blood being effectively forced out of the sort of scabbing wounds as he just sort of puts a lot of pressure on it. It does sting, and it doesn't feel too pleasant. However, you hear him again muttering a little bit more as he does it. He sort of pulls down to check your neck as well, and puts lots of pressure on the veins and arteries surrounding the wounds. And after about 5 minutes of examination, during which the Burgomaster is sort of just reading a book, not really paying any attention, his eyes will occasionally look up and glance over. The doctor sort of seems to pull up some vials, sort of pull out, seems to take a small sample of blood, which when he pulls it away, you see the blood that's in there is kind of dark and like lumpy almost. It seems to have like coagulated quite quickly. And as he pulls away, he says, and he turns to the Burgomaster, my lord, it does not seem to have spread. My best judgment is that she should be okay. But well, we will. I suppose we shall see in time. I would. You see him humming and hurrying. The bugmaster says, "Is she fit to stay in this? Is she fit to stay in the town?" And after a bit of deliberation, she says, "I believe so. Yes, she should be okay." But and he kind of pauses. And the bugmaster says, "That will be enough. That will be enough." And as a sign of almost leaving, the doctor figure just sort of glances at you, like quickly wipes away some of the stuff there and reinstates the whatever you had previously covering it, and he just turns to the bugmaster and says, "All will be well," and leaves. Before the bugmaster turns to you and says, "Seems you're a lucky woman, free to go. It seems so. Remember the motto, or it will be your hand next. Don't mistake that. You would be lucky to lose a hand. Other people have done less bad things and experienced, how shall we say, more troubles. But we have changed our tune in recent time. Just remember to be positive." And he's like, there's this almost slightly sickening grin on his face as he just says, "Now, if you would like to go, please go." And the guards sort of move to almost again flank you out of the building. And as you sort of leave, he waves a little bit and says, all will be well. Don't forget to attend the festival if you're thinking of doing so. Your friend seemed mighty curious of it. And it's about around that time that you're led out of the chamber, reconnecting with Guzza and Zadie, who are waiting outside, and your weapons are handed back to you, but the guards who hand it back are pretty reluctant to give them back to you. They're sort of bundled together, handed, like thrust, it's almost like a weapon belt almost, just thrusted at you, and sort of they hold it for just a moment as you try and take it before letting go and letting you have them.
All will be well.
Will be well.
One of the guards just sort of just nods and closes the door, and you find yourselves back out on the streets.
I give the door the finger.
We'll want to take out.
The world
insane amount of
explodes.
rage on the wall.
No, sorry, Rhea. Sorry, Zadie.
Yeah.
You guys want to take out all your rage on some wolves?
Just. Oh, are we still exhausted, by the way? Sorry.
No. You recovered it. You recovered it from your long rest. Again, it's more momentary exhaustion. As you then make your way, I assume, to the tavern.
I don't care the reason. I'm excited.
Sure.
I'm full of energy.
Sure, and you make your way there. Irina is still back at the church, as a note. She did not come with you, nor did she head with Rhea.
I guess as we're walking, I'll ask, like, do we want Irina to come, or is that a bit, like, not safe? I think her brother would be okay with us in her.
It's her
She says
choice.
she's a fighter. I think we best ask her.
It's the church first with Irina.
Sure, yeah, it's not too big a detour. I mean, it's a little bit, but it takes you maybe 5 minutes or so to sort of walk over in that direction, where she is. She seems to be helping the father. Just again, it seems like he's being recruited at least a little bit to help with some of these wood bundles, and she just seems content enough to just absentmindedly help him sort of build a few of these smaller scale ones that are probably less for a big bonfire and more for just little things. But as you approach, she sort of like looks up, and there's almost like a look of life in her eyes as you do so, and she gets up rather not so much excitedly, but compared to her absent-minded state, she seems to snap into a awakened state. She looks at you all and says, "So is everything okay?" She sort of looks again mainly at you, Rhea, and staring kind of at your neck.
All will be well, they said.
The father, who's sort of not too far, just he smirks slightly, but he just does say, "I would be careful. Just be careful, okay?"
No, I know.
Like, even in a safe place like this, some folks might not take kindly to your derision of the situation. Some people are just, well, I'm sure the Burgomaster has good intention, and some people can at least recognize that. So just be careful, okay? But and he sort of
Is
just
she not coming with her? Oh,
steps back, and Arena sort of comes up and says, "So, if everything is okay, what is your plan now? Are we do?"
We hunting wolves. We hunting wolves.
She
I
sort
wanted
of,
to do a few things first. No, I'm kidding.
you can have your shopping
We hunting
episode
wolves with
next
Howard
session.
Prayer?
Yeah.
Shopping episode. Sorry.
We don't get shopping episodes here. There's nothing to
That's
buy.
right.
Oh, that's gonna mess with everything. Oh, it messed with everything, but it's
That's
all
why he's
fine
back.
now. He's
Well,
back.
I'm terribly sorry.
That's
My
right, pal.
Discord just decided to
That's right. Discord.
have a random restart.
That's okay. Discord seems to have been a bit temperamental today, but that's okay.
I'm back.
Yes, you are. That's right. So you, Arena is sort of relatively intent on coming. She looks at you and she says, "I need to get, as much as this place is safe, I need to just, I need to cut loose a little bit and just get some fresh air as well. As nice as this place is and as safe as this place is, it is. I couldn't live here." And she again just pats her bag and pats the rapier that like sits at her side. Are we ready to go?
Onwards. Let's go kill us some wolves.
So you again venture back to the tavern where again you find Soldar and Yevgeny just waiting there. They seem to have already started drinking. Not heavily, but you see that there's one or two tankards next to them, only one of which seems to have anything in it, as they're sort of drinking away. As they see you come in, they go, so you seem to have brought at least some of your friends. Well, is this everyone that will be coming with us today?
Yeah,
He sort of
for today.
nods and says, well, it is a flat fee either way. As much as however many or few of you want to come, it's entirely up to you. But the more the merrier, and you see him mulling over his words. The more dangerous our pursuit can be. But we must be back before nightfall. That much is how do I say this? If we are not, we will leave you out there in the dark. We will not risk being out at nighttime in this place. Do you understand? He sort of says
We ain't
this
gonna
very,
break no curfew.
very firmly to you. He says,
Let's go.
okay. And
No, I was saying I.
oh, okay. And you were like, and I was like,
Sorry.
that's all right.
Captain. That's a different stream.
it sort of again,
Sorry.
but he sort of nods and says, "Well, if you're ready, then we will set off. We'll need." And he sort of goes over to the bar. You see him talking to the bartender, and the bartender sort of goes back into the kitchen and brings out what look like small slabs of meat. And he sort of folds them up in a bundle, puts them in his bag, and starts to make his way out of the tavern. And says, "Let's go. We cannot leave the wolves waiting. And well, the more wolves we hunt, the bigger our pot at the end of the day. But after you." And he sort of gestures. Yevgeny sort of takes the lead. The guy in the sort of the wolf-stitched coat. And start to lead you all north out of town, where you leave through a gate again guarded by several guards. And funnily enough, one of the other guards who's there is this commander figure. The larger hulking figure is just there. He seems to be on watch on the wall, but as you guys approach and sort of lead your way out, his eyes just track you as a group as you leave. He watches from both sides of the wall as you move through the gates and away. The guards open them up without too much of an issue, but he silently just watches you as you leave. And they lead you up north to close to the edge of this lake, where you see quite a few boats sort of docked up on a pretty small jetty, as well as some just run aground. They are canoes, effectively. There's nothing larger than maybe like a 6-person canoe. And there's several smaller than that. Some look broken, disused. The water itself looks kind of murky. But you do see off in the distance, off in the center of the lake, there seems to be a solitary boat out, maybe 200 feet out into the lake, and the lake is pretty expansive, as you can probably see on the map, which I will just bring you guys to just briefly. The lake itself is pretty large. It is several hundred In fact, it's about over a mile wide or a mile long, and it kind of disappears off into the fog beyond that. But they lead you up here. That's right. You can draw the line if you like. But they lead you up to the. Oh my God! Please stop. That's right. They lead you up to the to the edge of the water, and Yevgeny, who seems to be almost like doing the tracking, while Soldar sort of chats to you a little bit. They start to head off to the left, and they actually lead you. They start circumventing and actually circumvent the whole patch of woods to the west of Vallaki before coming back round over the bridge. And once they arrive at the bridge, they then tend themselves. They start to head northward, and they head up into these woods here. This sort of spit of woods, whereby Yevgeny is almost tracking at this point. He's moving from tree to tree, about 30 feet or so ahead of you all. There's a point at which he'll put his hand up and stop you. And just sort of indicate, and Soldar will be like, yeah, we must wait. Before Yevgeny's hand will sort of come over, you'll see that he notches marks in trees, just small things, just small carvings to indicate where they've been. As well as occasionally you'll see him stop and pull out a knife and start to almost like pull through what looks like animal feces, effectively, just tracking as you would, as he does for maybe the next hour and a half, 2 hours or so. You see no sign of wolves during this time, but Soldar does chat with you as this is happening quietly, but he is sort of chatting to you as you go. He says, "So, what brings you to Vallaki anyway? You seem intent on hunting wolves. What is your intent here? Besides, well, I suppose that is my question. What is your intent here?"
We got some things going on here. Tell me about the last time you hunted them wolves. Tell me about an adventure. Come on, you must have something. I see what your friend carries. Wait, is it him or is it his friend that has like the wolf armor?
So it's his friend who has this wolf stitched coat. Effectively, it's loads of swatches of skin, effectively, and fur that, like, alternating almost between skin and fur that has been sort of added to and seems to be getting longer and longer. One side is slightly longer than the other. But as you can see, I can bring up his artwork quickly just for your reference, so you can see kind of the edge of his coat. Let me see if I can find them. Just this is for ease of purpose, because you should be able to see what they look like. Sorry, guys. There you go. So you can see that.
No problem, dude.
So you should be able to see that. That is what Yevgeny looks like, and Soldar looks like this.
There's no way I can pick my laptop up and show everyone.
No, but it's all good. It's there's a reason I'm not bringing up the other screen.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so you guys can see that at least. They are, like, again, Soldar is the one with the bow slung over his shoulder. He's hanging back with you. Yevgeny is quiet, hasn't said too much. He usually seems to just agree with what Soldar has said and is sort of tracking out ahead of you guys. Again, occasionally just stopping or slowing you guys down before continuing on. It does seem he is genuinely tracking, and there is a sort of almost a winding path that he's following. Those of you with slightly more survival instincts, which, to be honest with your group, the three of you, as far as I'm aware, isn't any of you. But you can get a sense.
No, I have +2 survival.
Okay, yeah, you're not bad. You're not bad. You're able to tell that what he's doing is. Are you proficient? Are you proficient? That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. In that case, yeah, you're able to tell that he's like.
I've got +4.
Yeah, well, you did.
Fucking dead.
Yeah. So your survival is very bad. Like, you didn't survival. So no, your that's all right. But your proficiency
you killed me.
Wow.
Rub it in.
No, I will.
I'm joking.
So your proficiency lets you realize that what he's doing, he isn't fucking around. He is genuinely following a trail. It seems it's not some sort of act to just sort of put you through the ringer of a traditional a wolf hunt. You guys have also shown that, or at least with the dire wolf paws, you've shown that you're seasoned enough individuals in terms of fighting, or at least you've acquired some dire wolf paws somehow. But as you sort of ask him to recount a tale, his tales are pretty, like, he's not a particularly interesting man, it seems. He's not he hunts wolves. He explains to you that the notches in his bow, of which you count several, probably over 100, are just the number of wolves he's killed. This bow looks like it's well worn. The lacquer that once covered it and there was sort of probably a protective, varnish is worn and faded. There are points at which it's still quite thick, where his hands don't touch it. He hasn't yet notched it, but everywhere else it's sort of been cut and chipped through to make these notches. And again, he explains the same deal with Yevgeny's coat. Yevgeny's coat is every wolf that Yevgeny kills, he takes a patch of their fur, stitches it into his coat, and it continues that way. He also explains it's his second coat, so he's done this before. But he's not really trying to toot his own horn or toot Yevgeny's horn, more than just sort of explain out what you've asked for. But he talks with you for a while. He sort of says, "But you must have come here for some reason, no? Besides hunting wolves, it is not it is a simple existence for a person like me, and for a man like him. But you must have some sights to see, no?"
Well, right now we
I can recommend something if you are short of things to see.
Sure.
But sorry, Guz, are you saying something as well, or because I know?
I was, but no, go ahead.
Okay. Yes. Well, what do you want to see? I mean, I wouldn't suggest venturing to many of these places, but well, there are sights to be seen in Barovia, I suppose, as long as you keep your distance. So.
I mean, I'm not from Barovia, so I don't. You're gonna have to tell me everything.
He sort of shrugs and says, "Well, I suppose I can. On your left."
Also, is he seeing no irony in telling me what sights to see?
He's a simple enough man that kind of just washes over him. He's just, I mean, he seems to be like not really. He averts his eyes when he talks to you in some regards. Like he's not. Again, the nature of you having no eyes does put you at that disadvantaged state of charisma stuff, and he is kind of slightly weirded out by it. But you're a nice enough, kind enough person that he sort of just manages to look past that in a way. He says, "Well, to your left here, no, about a mile. I would stick to the footpath, but there's a smaller lake than the Lake Barovia you saw there. A place called Lake Baratok. There is a tower. Supposed to be some old wizard tower. I would steer clear. I haven't seen anyone get inside there in my lifetime, and if they have, they definitely haven't left. It is a place I would just avoid. That will be a recurring theme as it comes to places to go. Watch it at a distance or avoid it entirely. But a tower on the lake, yes, you will find this if you want to see it from a distance. Even further west, you have the only other settlement here besides Valaki in that dead zone to the east. There's a place called Krezek. It is a walled settlement. Good luck getting in there. It is a place where there's an abbey of sorts, big cathedral overlooking the village. No one goes there. Again, I suggest you steer clear. But they call it the what is it? He sort of looks at you, Zadie, thinking you might know it, being that you are dressed in Morning Lord garb. He is the abbey of. And he sort of looks at you for thing, and then he realizes like, do you not know the name?
I said I ain't from Barovia. So...
Oh, of course. Oh, Christ. And he thinks on it for a while. And he goes, "It is the Abbey of Saint Markovia. That is it. Some old worshipper of the Morning Lord, of course. That used to preside here. Is named after her, I suppose. If you're any of you see him saying this with a bit of worry per se, but he says, any of you heavy drinkers?" Again, he kind of eyes past to Rhea, but not like just because you're the only non-holy person. He looks at Arena as well, and Arena just kind of like shrugs and shakes her head slightly. Looks at you, Rhea. Do you drink? Does any of you drink?
I drink.
He says, "Well,
I drink enough to make up for these two."
He says, "Okay then. There's a winery to the south. The winery that supplies the wine to this whole valley. It's called the Wizard of Wines. You've probably, if you've been drinking here, it will have been from there, without doubt.
The same wizard that lived in that tower?
He chuckles and says, "I don't know, maybe, but no, I don't think so. It's just it is just a name, like a brand. We haven't really done advertising here in the in Barovia, but it is a name to." And he just kind of tails off. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, you can always go on the lake. Lake Zarovich is it's a place to go, but the fishing is dead there. The water is polluted, and I would not recommend it. That's why we hunt wolves fully now. Used to be a fisherman time back, but it is not it is a dying trade, so to speak now. Beyond that, you see him again scratching his head. He says, "Oh, there's a place to the south. If you take the path between Krezak and Velaki and head to the south, about partway there's a." You see him stumbling over his words slightly. It is not a church, not a cathedral, not an abbey. It is a castle of sorts. A small castle, not like that damned place up on the hill. I would steer very clear of there. But no, it is the place. Name Argen Vosthold. It is used to be some knights that lived in this valley. It's long abandoned now, I imagine. But as always with anything in this place, you steer clear. They used to some sort of dragon knights worship some dragon. I don't know. But that's like he sort of just waves his hand around a bit and says, "It is perhaps a place you could go, but again, unless you wish to, unless you find yourselves to be dragon knights, I would steer clear." And around this time, after sort of reading this off, it's sort of narrative time. There's a point at which,
Sorry, I nudge Zadie and go, dragon. And just
Yeah,
that's
he
all.
also mentioned a house of saints, so the second one.
and again, I will give you guys a rundown of this, in a little list format, so you can check it out more easily. But around this time after this conversation has been taking place, it hasn't all happened in one moment, but for ease of narrative flow, it has. There's a point at which Soldar sort of glances up and goes, "Oh," and he sort of almost freezes on the spot as you look over and you see Yevgeny just sort of with his hand up. He looks across at you and he sort of he does this kind of motion, followed by this kind of this effective, translated for you from their quiet hand signals. Soldar sort of lowers his voice immediately. He says he sees two smaller wolves and one which is a little bit larger. He sort of looks at you, Guzza, sort of.
Heavy breathing from Guzza's corner.
Go ahead and just make an intimidation check, just for the sake of it.
Okay, sure.
It's just for like the nature of you just almost drooling over this.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. I mean, it's more of like it's not like a.
Is not doing anything for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much like it's not to change anything per se, but he kind of looks at you and goes, "Look like you need this, friend." Well. He says,
You want a tissue?
and he just says, "We'll all move forward slowly. Just take your time. Any of you with range, prepare yourselves. Any of you without," and he sort of just points towards Yevgeny. He says, "You'll be with him. He is more up close and personal, but it sounds like a larger wolf is perhaps on the upper end of something we would tackle. So we will need your assistance. It just probably wouldn't take a quarry like this if it wasn't for folks like yourselves." And he sort of, again, gestures for you all to move forward. And I would like you all to make stealth checks, please. I will also say, because of their nature as wolf hunters and their the sort of the precautions they may be taking, I will say those of you that would have disadvantage because of your heavy armor do not have it. Because of the precautions that are generally being taken. So you guys just, Zadie, I believe your heavy armor as well, and Guzza, you can both roll. Just
If I roll advantage, will that cancel out the disadvantage it will come with automatically, I assume?
What do you mean? As in? No, I'm saying you just don't get the disadvantage, so it's just a flat roll for both.
I don't get advantage in that.
No, it's more bringing them up to par rather than boosting what you can do. But Zadie, what were you saying?
I don't think I get disadvantage.
Do you have heavy armor?
Yeah.
Any heavy armor gives disadvantage, so
On
to
stealth
stealth
rolls,
rolls.
I think I have a thing that says I don't.
A thing?
I think it might be from cleric.
I don't think you do. You have heavy armor proficiency as a life cleric, but there's no feature that gives you
Let
not.
me check, because
Sure.
If I may, while she's checking,
Mhm.
I think. Oh right, sorry. 1 second. Because I chose chainmail as the thing that I when I was creating the character sheet, I think that automatically rolls with disadvantage. So if I click on advantage, do you think that'll cancel it out, or should I just try and we'll just go with the first one?
Oh, that's an
regardless?
interesting question. I actually don't know.
Shall we try it?
Just
For
yeah,
science?
try it for science. And we'll take the first roll if it rolls like 3.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I think it would be smart
No, I
enough
just
to do it.
click the fucking button. Yeah.
There we go.
I thought that was Gaza for a second. I was like, what?
No.
23? Like, holy shit.
You wish, Gaza, you wish.
Okay, so it seems to have.
Oh, it would have been
rolled-
19.
Oh, would have been 20. Yeah, shit. Okay. So yeah, you get a 20 on that. Obviously they need to make checks as well.
Not far behind.
No, not at all. Oh no. Oh no.
Not on that one.
Maybe in that one. Bear with me.
You're professionals.
Yeah, he's busy chatting to
Worm.
you and he steps on something. But no. I mean, this is still a check for everyone. Why is it not opening it? Oh, yeah, it's because I already have the minimized tab of them. Sorry, 1 sec. And then that's better for the other one because they do have a +6. They are pretty stealthy individuals, and this is their territory. However, Zadie would have just been a normal roll. It was the 3. Okay, so you guys don't get any surprise round on this as such because with you got a 23 and a 20, but a nat 1, a 3 and a 16. It's like this is like right down the middle. I'll say that you're able to close some distance. Those of you at the front as this happens. So if you bear with me, I'm going to pull you onto the battle map. Again, if you obviously don't watch the stream, you shouldn't be watching stream anyway. But you know what I mean. Just for the purposes of this, as we move on to the other screen, there might be some stuff that's already in place. So just be wary. Oh no, it's not. I removed it. Perfect. I'm a genius. Thank you. As we all move onto this map, you see what looks to be a larger wolf and 2 smaller ones eating away at something. You should all be able to see this, players. But do let me know if there's anything amiss. However, Yevgeny is further out ahead. I would say you're able to, as I said, close the distance pretty much to Yevgeny, if you so please. And I believe all 3 of you are going for the melee approach. So Arena will be there, but a little further back. Oh, I didn't roll for her as well, actually.
I was gonna say if she got a really high stealth check.
It's not going to change much. I'll be
don't
honest.
know,
Like
It'd be great if she fails.
There's a saving throw. That was I mean, it would have been the same roll. So, I mean, you guys don't like fail, but you don't succeed either. There's no like twig snapping, like oh shit, they're killing us. They seem preoccupied, and you're able to close the gap quite considerably. But it gets to about this point where you've closed up. Soldar has pulled up a little bit, and is and you start to see as the as again you're creeping forward ever so slowly. Yevgeny's standing stock still. His hand is on one of the blades on his back, and as you step forward, Soldar, like you see the thing sort of like the larger wolf just sniffing the air, and its head just starts to turn as you hear this like oh shit come from Soldar as you're able to turn and quickly see as the meat thing that's sort of been in his bag has started to sort of pool blood at the bottom of his bag, and it sort of you just see it turn and start baring its teeth. And I need everyone to roll initiative, or at least 3 of you to roll initiative. So let me get the.
My God, we're fighting Elliot and Jacob.
I've just removed you all, but I will add you
No.
back, Zadie. So just bear with me.
Careful what you say, because we won't go easy on you.
I really.
Oh, fuck.
What are rolls?
I really wish I could roll initiative just to stress you out.
I mean, nothing's.
Let's change the pace of the music because it's been on the ambient music this whole
Even
time.
mine wasn't that great.
Well, that's like really heavy battle music. Cool. Okay, so we've got that's that's not everyone because I need to roll for other people. I'm going to roll Yevgeny and Soldar on the same initiative.
And Irina as well.
Yeah, and I'll roll her separately though, because they effectively, if you see me roll with the same person twice, it's because Yevgeny and Soldar have the same stats.
Sure,
So
makes
it's
sense.
just rather than having to open close. I rolled to GM there, but that's a 17 for both of them, and Irina.
Irina goes first. Stupid.
Irina does not go first, but she goes second or third, depending on how this descends. It's going to give her before the wolves. So as you push in, the wolf starts to turn and bare its teeth. The other wolves sort of again react in a similar manner. However, Soldar and Yevgeny have enough time to react that Soldar goes, shit, and he starts to pull an arrow, and he is going to take 2 shots over the top, whilst Yevgeny is going to sort of look at you all and say, up around me, and he's going to take a step like 5 or 10 feet forward, and he's going to prep himself with a ready action to attack the first thing that comes up to him, rather than just barreling off into the distance. And in fact, he'll step to about there, even sort of moving kind of towards the wolves, we'll say, the smaller wolves. I mean, these guys don't generally deal with these wolves, but we will see how it goes. So Yevgeny takes the ready action to attack the ones that move in range. Soldar is going to make his 2 ranged attacks with his longbow at the biggest one because it's big and scary. So the first shot's a 13, which I believe just misses. Yep, just misses. As he takes the shot, it flies through the fur and takes a tuft of fur from this wolf, and it just bares its teeth and is. Oh, I pressed that twice more. That was a nat 1 on the second roll. So as he sees this, he sort of he pulls it, and his slightly bloodied fingers like draw the arrow, and it just kind of slips, and you hear it just go. Ba-dum-dum. Makes him look really bad. But Yevgeny is taking the ready action to react to this. That's his turn. Irina is going to also sort of pull up near you, Zadie, and she is going to. What can Irina do? Have I managed to close her sheet somehow? I've closed her sheet. It's fine. She's going to take the dodge action as she sort of readies herself there with her weapon, but not quite sure how to approach these. As again, it's not her forte, but she's still wanting to kind of let loose a little bit. But this is still her being a little bit sensible, shall we say. We'll do the boot. I think I did that last time. It's now the wolves' turns. These little ones are both going to sort of approach towards Yevgeny, and they're both going to make attacks against him. They have advantage because of pack tactics as they move in, so they both make 1 bite attack. The first one is an 18. It's going to hit him, so he takes he takes a hit and sort of like staggers back as it bites into his so he might just die now. This is amazing. This
Did
will be
he not
fantastic.
get his hit off first because he had the...
Sure, I'll say after the first one he attacks the other one as it runs in. So he is going to make his attacks. Sorry, it's lots of like DM versus DM fighting here. So apologies for that. But he's going to make 2 attacks against the other wolf. That's a crit. That doesn't quite bring it down, but then the second attack manages to bring down.
DM as well, by the way.
Okay. It was a nat 20 for the first roll and a 16 for the second one. As he sort of swings down and cuts with the ready actions, the first wolf slams into him and nearly knocks him prone. But this as it's sort of coming in, he manages to swing twice and effectively just behead this other wolf before it can make its attacks. I'll say because they got the ability to move at the same time, so they both got advantage. However, before the other one even gets to attack, he just cuts it up. However, he also has to make a strength save, which he fails and falls prone. So he is currently prone. As this thing slams into him, it's like bearing over him, but he's already cut the other wolf down. We will mark prone with that. Oh no, not that. That. However, Blue has just been beheaded and falls. The other wolf, meanwhile, is going to barrel forward and lunging at Irina. In fact, I'll say it just moves up there for the sake of just closing gaps. It's going to attack Irina, and its attack comes through. That's not what I need. That's what I need. It doesn't have an ally, so it's just a normal bite. That will hit her, I believe. This is where it's really annoying that I closed her sheet. Sorry, you guys will get to do something in a sec. Eventually, after all the DM versus DM shit. No, you know what?
Roll high.
She's going to use her reaction to parry. And as it sort of comes in, and it would have had disadvantage anyway, in fact, but fuck it, for the ease of purpose. She uses her reaction to parry. As it comes in and the bite sort of is about to clamp round her, she brings her rapier up and just sort of flicks it up and catches the wolf enough in the mouth with the flat edge of the rapier that it sort of just has to sort of throw its mouth off to one side, and it slams back down all fours, eyes flicking over to where Soldar is, but it seems intent on focusing on you guys. However, that's her reaction. That's their turn. Rhea, you are now up. This one wolf has gone down. Yevgeny, however, is sort of being pinned by the other wolf.
Okay. Seeing that this guy has been pinned, I will draw my short sword and go charging in towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, try and almost vault over his back, and I will cast Booming Blade as I bring the sword down across its back as I go over and say, "Come after me, you fuck!" And then I will disengage as my bonus action and carry on running past it.
Okay,
Just try and bait it away from him.
Sure, go ahead
basically.
and make the booming blade attack first.
Okay, sorry.
No,
yeah,
that's all right.
I'm getting into the descriptive.
No,
thing.
it's good. It's good. It's good. I like it. Just
Yeah.
it says as the blade sort of sparks with like a faint thunderous energy, it comes down. An 11.
Oh, that's
11 does
terrible.
not hit.
5 and 1.
11 does not hit. As you swing, it sort of the blade comes down, but the wolf is sort of able to spin itself out the way as it sort of looses its grip slightly on Yevgeny's pulling back. The blade just comes down and swishes into empty space.
Yep.
But you
But
disengage.
I've sort of gone over and we'll move a little. Have taken the disengage action and sort of sprinted past and turned and then placed myself.
Sure. As you move past the other wolf whose head has been cut, the body is fallen to one side. The mouth of the wolf is still kind of like biting. The tongue starting to loll out the front, as it is very much. It's been detached from its body, but it's still going through the throes of death. Zadie, this larger wolf slams in or pulls itself in.
Okay, I'm gonna be less descriptive. I'm gonna bonk it on the head with a mace.
You can certainly try a 16 will hit, and as it crashes in, it does 9 damage, and the wolf again staggers back just angrily.
And I'm just strafe round slightly because I know my boy Guzzo wants to hit this, so I'm gonna give it a bit of space.
Sure, you crack it and able to sort of pull yourself staggering back slightly out of the way as it is Guzzer up. Anything with your bonus action?
Nah.
Okay, Guzzer, you are now up.
Yeah. I mean, I was about to run towards the little wolf, and then seeing Rhea being on, I've been like, I've seen her do things that infuriate me. How good she is with that blade, that toothpick, or whatever she carries.
Yeah.
But I'm here right now with this side, and I'm running towards Big Boy here.
Okay. All right. So you rush up with your scythe drawn. What'd you like?
Yeah, I'm going big. Go hard, go home. I'm gonna try and hit him heavy with the great whip.
Okay. Go ahead and make your attack. Just waiting for the day it crits.
Oh.
A 9 does not hit, unfortunately.
Max damage though.
Fuck it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try it.
Okay, go ahead and roll your d6. It's max damage on one of the dice. 24, I think, is the max you can fucking do, which is insane.
That's nuts.
It is the max.
So,
I mean,
your d6, what you got?
Oh shit.
12 doesn't cut the mustard, unfortunately. So you use a hero point, but unfortunately, as you sort of ready the blow, you swing down with extreme force and you slam into the ground. And as it hits the ground, it almost sends a shock out through the ground. As it almost again just the sheer force sends a very slight crack just in the earth beneath the ground, beneath your feet. As it does so, you hear the sound of sort of cracking and breaking ground behind you. As you just hear the sound of just it's weird. It's a splitting, a twisting, a breaking as the ground almost ruptures up from maybe 20 feet or so behind the both of you, Guzzer and Zadie. As you're sort of doing this, you're able to turn around as you simply see a single hand just sort of pull itself out of the ground, earth just covering it, the nails dirty, the arm covered in earth. And it just sort of pulls itself, just reaching out of the ground. The hands look like gnarled and twisted as it wrenches itself up. There you see, covered in earth, dressed the same, you see Trundle. His head, his eyes sort of gleaming wide,
Oh,
earth just coating his body. But as he pulls himself up, He's able to sort of get to his knees. You see as his hair is almost seemingly grown a fair bit longer. But the most noticeable thing, even covered in earth, as you sort of stare dumbfounded at this ally of yours having pulled himself out the ground, his face is different. Where his mouth was, there's nothing. Just earth, dirt smearing around the front of his face. And you hear this voice in your mind that speaks out. If you'd like to go ahead and say anything as you have this moment to.
I'm back.
And you hear this voice just call out, just say again in, I would say, all of your minds, maybe not yours, Rhea, but you hear, at least Zadie and Guzzy, you hear this voice in your mind just say, I'm back. And he sort of pulls himself to his feet. Again, the rapier gleaming at his side, as he sort of swirls around. Trundle, I need you to roll initiative as you
Absolutely.
rip yourself out of the ground.
Let me get that token.
Go for it.
Perfect.
Trundle.
Here's Johnny.
You should have the token on screen now. I put it there for you.
Perfect. Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just getting the.
Brutal.
That's good.
Yeah, unfortunately, this has effectively happened at initiative count 0/20. So you are last to go.
You're still dragging yourself out of the ground.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
That's fine. I
how you
need to get all the
describe
dirt off my face and all that shit.
it.
Don't look like an idiot. That'd be dumb.
Yeah, it is going to be kind of tough for you to get up, but you're able to clamber up. You are, for ease of being attacked or anything like that, you are effectively not prone or anything. You are standing. However, you also hear alongside that, you hear a deeper growl. All of you hear a deep growl coming from the northeast, as to what seems to have happened to you before may be happening again. And as you're sort of drawn into this fight with certain creatures, you hear howls, but these howls sound different. They sound not necessarily deeper, but they sound almost like they're communicating. As you hear breaking through the bracken, through the woods, and you hear Soldar call out, just, "Oh shit, werewolves!" And he just points and just points off in the distance as he's sort of seemingly broken by or confused by Trundle's appearance, but he just gestures to the north, and you see two figures running at like almost inhuman speed, barreling through the brush towards you, claws outstretched, their bodies sort of, slightly larger than the sort of average human, as the two of them start pushing their way through the brush and running towards you. And I'm gonna have to roll initiative for them as well. But I'm saying that they are way back. So bear with me. Sure, they are also apparently digging themselves out of the ground. It would seem. So they have an initiative count of 4, and as they start rushing up, Soldar's attention is sort of really split here. However, as he starts to basically pull himself to the south, and is drawing an arrow and is still aiming at the one over Yevgeny. So he's going to take 2 shots at that guy, that wolf, just the one that's there. So shot 1 that hits, shot 2 that kills. As he's sort of doing this, he regains his composure, cleans his hands off, and takes the 2 shots, dropping the wolf that's above Yevgeny, sort of slumping it onto him. As its head is turned towards you, Rhea. Before it has time to react, it falls to the ground as well, dead from his 2 quick shots. And Yevgeny sort of pulls himself away as this is happening, gets to his feet, glances over and just like looks at you, Rhea, and just says, "Run!" Like, having said very little to you so far as an individual, however, he is still going to run 5, 10, 15 with his blades drawn, is still just going to swing 2 attacks as he moves in that direction, because he had to get up from being prone. So, 1, 2, they both hit for, I think, max damage on both, because he is just a single dice roll. So yeah, he's just like, in a whirlwind of fear and adrenaline, he just swings in, cutting into the hindquarters of this direwolf, dealing 16 fucking, that's really good. That's his turn, however. It's Arena at this point. She's no longer dodging, but she's going to see those werewolves coming. And she's going to try and cut this thing down first. Because she's just, again, she's in her anger, in her fury. She doesn't hit it. and she's basically going to circumvent around the side of the wolf whilst its attention is drawn upwards. But that's where she's going to get to. It's now the wolf's turn. It's pissed at Yevgeny, I think. Actually, wait, this is a tough one.
I hit it.
You did, yeah. I'll tell you what. I'll roll.
I'm Spartacus.
Because I'm an asshole and I like RNG. I'm gonna roll a d4. And this is. Did it even roll? I don't think it even rolled. So I'll roll a d4. This is left to right, top to bottom. So we know it's going to be a 2, but might as well roll it just to make sure. Oh, it's a 1!
Oh my gosh.
Yevgeny takes a hit, potentially, as the direwolf lunges at him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, as this direwolf, as it takes the 2 big hits from Yevgeny, it turns, snarling, just woof, slams into him, knocking him to the ground and sinking its teeth into his throat and just pulling out. And just ripping his throat out as you hear Solo go, "No!" Just calling out like angrily, desperately, as this thing just rips into him, and its mouth dripping with blood. However, it is pretty heavily wounded as it sort of make this lunge attack. Around this time as well, from near Soldar, you suddenly hear this sickening crack. It's like a bolt of thunder almost striking down. There's a flash. A pop, a snap almost, from near behind where Soldar is. And you see you hear as something sort of just whips through the woods at incredible speed. There's nothing you can see. You're all sort of, again, focused on these figures breaking through the forest to the north. But to the south, further behind Soldar, you just hear this snap as something comes whistling through. I suppose I would like... Rather than making this a cinematic auto hit, I'd like you to make an attack, please. Snake.
Yeah, sure.
Oh!
Full party.
Oh no, that's not very good.
That isn't great.
I'll fix that with my first hero point I got retroactively yesterday.
Yes.
Last time rather.
Yep. So, so a 14 on the direwolf is just enough to hit. It is literally its AC, and it has 12 hit points left, so with 13 shots. You hear this snap, and you hear this sound as the wolf in front of you that's just got Yevgeny's blood dripping from its mouth spins towards you, Zadie, as the only other person who's hit it. And as it's sort of like rearing itself up, ready to lunge at you, you see as the side of its head almost just pops. You see its head lunge one way, but you see effectively bits of skull, fur, and matter just sort of burst out the side of its head as it staggers and just slumps to the ground, dead.
I'm just gonna goes over and be like,
yeah, but you hear this, you hear and see this loud flash come from the south. Soldar
looking at it.
Soldar sort of spins round. What do they see? I suppose off in the distance, but
Yeah.
Okay, distance-wise, I'm not quite sure how far away I am, but you see.
within 60 feet, I guess, technically.
Okay, within 60 feet.
Technically.
As long as they can see me, they see a rather thin-looking, average height-looking individual, pale skin, thin-looking face, with several things attached to a belt, and well, from this distance, that's all you can really see. But you also see like a hand extended outwards.
And from it, it's hard to describe. What looks like it could be a wand, gesturing out from his hand. A thin plume of smoke sort of rises from it. However, that'll be your turn as it comes in now. I'd also like you to roll initiative. You'll be kicking in next round. But as for the cinematic entry, Rhea, you see the figures around you, the wolves around you have fallen, but you see 2 humanoid figures barreling through. You could drag the token on if you like.
I'm going to turn and start running back towards the group, past the fallen body of
around. I'm thinking around.
Jenny. Go to my full movement. I'm going to turn, and then I'm going to... Only that had been your first roll. And then I'm going to ready a spell for when probably this orange one that was closer to me comes within... I think... Sorry, hang on. Let me just check the distance. when it comes within 30 feet.
Okay.
You need to know which spell? Yeah.
I know you're preparing levitate, so it's all good.
No, you don't.
You're preparing levitate, are you not?
No, she's not.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, Sophie.
No, I was
Okay.
not.
Full clouds.
No,
Oh,
not that either.
no, Sophie.
What are you prepping? You do need to.
I am prepping Tasha's hideous laughter.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Okay. No, that's totally fine. So you're prepping Tasha's hideous laughter for when it moves in 30 feet. Okay. That's your turn. Zadie, you're up.
I am going to move over to Mr. Dead Guy and cast Spare the Dying. I didn't think he got hit that hard.
You go to him. His throat has been ripped out. He's still. You're.
Super dead.
He's not a. He doesn't have hit die. Anyone who doesn't have hit die. Well, anyone who doesn't have. The protection of being like when you hit 0 points, you go unconscious. aka players dies when it hits 0 hit points.
Well,
Unless
I don't
it's.
know how much effort you put into your.
It's not about me. Wow, wow. Oh, we're gonna have to have a talk. No, no. So
I'm kidding.
yeah.
I just like Zadie wouldn't know, so Zadie's gonna.
So, I mean,
have a...
I would say I feel like Zadie would. It's her nature to be a life cleric. Perhaps I feel like she'd have some idea of, like they need to be a lifeless by the dying to work. Yeah, like I don't want you to have to burn your action. As much as I appreciate you'd rush over there, realize it's kind of a fool's errand, and then you would still have your turn.
Okay, in that case, I will ready an attack for when something gets within melee range of.
Okay, cool. All right. Speaking of enemies getting within melee range, you see as these two figures start barreling through the woods. Excuse me. And they start making their way towards you. They rush forward, and with their movement, it's too fucking far. Well, this one is going to get up to Trundle, so it's going to get to have some fun. This one's going to rush up. This one, in the meantime, is going to. In fact, it's going to just run at a distance, and technically, it gets within 30 feet around there. So, Rhea, as it gets within 30 feet, you start to cast a spell.
Yep. Wisdom saving throw for it.
This guy's fucking dumb. He's got an intelligence of what? No, I'm kidding.
Oh no.
That would be great. So,
Yeah, great. You see that.
wisdom save throw or fall prone. Can we capacitate it? Wisdom save. It's triggered by damage. Cool.
Good luck,
Okay,
Sophie.
so it's a wisdom save. Where the fool? Not great.
Oh.
Unfortunately, as the spell goes off, your spell slot burns. You feel you see it almost slow its gait ever so slightly before just pushing through it. You can see the mental wall that breaks through its actions. However, it is actually not going to make its way all the way over because it can't in a full move, and instead gonna sort of pull itself, sort of snarling, prowling round, looking at you. With and it's going to effectively stop there, sort of not quite covering the bodies of the dead wolves, but just kind of staring at them, staring at the ground, looking up at all of you as it's pulled through, and it's going to take the dodge action. So it's just going to keep itself harder to hit as it stands there. Again, thick fur covering it. It's humanoid in nature, and again they sort of let out these loud howls. You can hear in the distance, relative far distance, just howls of echoing out. As they rush in. The other one against Trundle, however, it's going to make its 2 attacks. It doesn't have advantage because you are effectively standing upright, but it is going to make one with its claws or spear. So it's going to make a claw and a bite. The claw coming in, it's only a 12, so it doesn't actually hit. As you get up, you're able to sort of pull your blade out and parry it away. The bite, however, is a 12 as well, so it also doesn't hit. As it sort of lunges in with its claws, the claws sort of clash against the rapier. The bite comes in, but Trundle, you sort of just body it in a way, and it staggers back slightly. Just fool! Just calls out to you. That's its turn. However, Guzza, you're up.
Yeah. Obviously missing this thing, but still seeing it as full. Like, sort of remember to myself, what am I thinking? And then I start to cast the incantation that is bless on myself, Rhea, and Zadie.
Okay. So you cast Bless as you sort of incant this out. Again, the holy words of seep out and right over Rhea and Zadie, and they sort of just you feel a slight focus of mind for all three of you as the words echo out. So you're concentrating on that. You're blessed. He's not blessed. He's definitely dead. You're blessed, and you're blessed. As the blesses sort of echo out, you get that thing again. Remember, it's a D4 to any attack rolls or
I'll try and remind
saving
you as
throws, I think, but not ability checks.
That's correct.
But,
Yes.
I mean, it's the important ones in a battle. Okay, so as you cast that, you still have movement. And you still have a bonus action if you'd like to, if you can use it.
I'm going to stand next to Zadie against this northernmost foe and be like, and look at her and be like, "It's you I stand by," and then just have my
So edgy.
weapon ready.
No, cool. Okay, so you ready yourself there as you stand next to Zadie. Trundle, you are now up. This thing slashes at you, but you manage to bat it away. You pull yourself out of the ground. You grab your rapier and swing it out. What would you like to do?
What I'd like to do is, provided that as I am sort of making myself not prone or however it is, wiping on stuff, not wielding my shield and
Your shield is nowhere to be seen, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And using the rapier to bat away the attack, hopefully, if possible, I would like to let go of it and then start to again lose control.
Well, how about this? Because
I'm not...
no. This is in your favor. So bear with me. As Snake's character got to do something in their turn. As you pull yourself out the ground and you kind of almost smell the air, something overtakes you. I mean that same feeling overtakes you. You seem to have more control. You tilt your head up and twist it slightly. Again, bones snapping and cracking slightly as your neck reels. And you go to let out a howl. It doesn't come, but mentally you're sort of almost just driving and screaming as you pull yourself out the ground. And you transform on the spot then. You now have a whole turn as you're transformed.
That's absolutely
how about
amazing.
that? I think that's more than fair.
That's absolutely beautiful. So I would like to take... I can take a bonus action before my action.
You can indeed. You can do them in any order.
I'll take my bonus action to invoke my Crimson Right, I believe. My Blood Right, sorry. To turn both of my hands into a frost-covered claws. And in doing so, I like to drag it across my body and draw the cold blood, and it will form as ice around the end of the claws on both hands. And I will stare angrily into this wolf next to me, and I will make an attack with both claws, followed by an extra attack with the other claw.
Yeah, unfortunately, because you're not 5th level yet, the way it's one attack and then a bonus action attack. So for this turn, effectively, it's the one hit. In fact, no, because the way we do offhand attacks, so you do get to make both attacks. The second one without modifier, but the first one still comes in and slams into it. So, because I think
I'll make two. I haven't got the modifier on the third.
How's this going to work? One sec. No, so actually, let me think this one through. Because you don't have extra attack, you have one claw. Sorry about this. This is getting mechanics, just getting it right.
Not at all. No, it's difficult. It's
so you have
specific.
Yeah, so you have one attack, and then on subsequent turns, it says when you make an attack with that, you can then also use a bonus action to make another. So for this turn, you just make the one attack because you had the bonus action to light up your claws. However, as you swing down, go ahead and make your attack roll. Yeah, sorry to be finicky. Just want to make sure we get it right.
Not at all. That's more than perfect.
Okay, that does hit.
Blood right damage.
Blood right damage as well. Go ahead and roll the claw damage. So as the claws rake into this creature or start to rake into this creature, you realize, maybe you don't realize, maybe you do. You realize that unfortunately, due to the nature of lycanthropy and how it makes you tougher, although you're not you've not fully embraced the lycanthropy in the same way as a fully fledged werewolf has, and you're sort of able to control it in a bit more of a way. The claws do nothing. They push against its body and it just drags against flesh, leaving no marks, taking no fur with it. The cold does sort of cause it to wince slightly, but unfortunately, the claws don't even leave a mark. There's just a simple, slight, cool, frosty line across where your hands have dragged. You also look down at your hand, having been holding the rapier, and you glance at the rapier. The rapier you had, which previously was just a standard rapier, is silvered. and you look at your hand, and there is almost like a burn mark across where you've held it. However, the instinct drives into you. You would be able to pick it up still, but it does it causes you to glare slightly just looking at it. Unfortunately, these.
Oh, absolutely no.
Yeah,
I do exactly that, but I even more angrily so after realizing that my blow hasn't really done as much as I want. Just the feral anger, just really penetrating, just more fury going towards it.
Unfortunately, and I think that as we're mid combat, as I seem to love to do, and we're already at 11:05, that is where we're going to leave tonight. Mid combat, about to pick up as Snake is ready to take some more shots. Let me just remove that name tag so that no one else can see it. And I don't know if you guys can actually. I know anyone watching the VOD can, but cool. That's where we're going to leave it. Like I said, I think it makes good sense to just
Didn't
stop
know
it there.
I was going to come in exactly there. Holy mother! Let's go.
It made
Thank you for
perfect
joining
sense. Yeah.
It does. It really
Bye.
Yeah. No,
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, it made perfect sense to just as the ground was cracked into by Guzza, and with the fact that it came around to initiative count 20, you've gone on a wolf hunt. You found your wolves.
Yes.
We're here.
And also some werewolves. But we shall leave it there. Yeah, enough. Well, we'll see. But we shall leave it there. And welcome. Thank you for sticking around as well. Obviously, Snake and Elliot. I know you're kind of players who will be happy to stick around and listen to the story a lot of the time. But thank you for sticking around during the shenanigans, shall we say?
It's fun to watch. It is fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Make all of the mistakes that I would be making. So.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And also,
obviously, thank you, Ian, as always. Ian,
absolutely.
I need no. Please, you give me too little credit. Come on, load it on just a little bit more. No, I'm kidding.
For
Thank
the
you.
awesome DM on DM combat.
Yes.
Bye. You're so mean. But no. Okay. But anyway, we'll pick up here next week. Next week we've got a session as normal. The week after, and for probably the next couple of weeks after that, we're going to be on like Christmas hiatus effectively. I'm going to be away for a lot of that time, so I'll obviously, those of you who watch the stream, watch other parts of the stream, I'll tell you more about that stuff then. But in terms of D&D, we've definitely got next week, everything permitting. But beyond that, we'll probably be shuffling things up. So we're aiming for a TPK next session, so that we can go into Christmas and start. Yeah, go into Christmas and start with a new campaign in January. I'm joking, of course. We will see how the next session goes. Hopefully, get to end on a good point, where things are a little bit more less in the middle of combat, shall we say? And
cliffhanger. That's how TV series work. It's everyone hooked, as it were.
Exactly.
Some people who get paid for this.
All 6 of you who are watching. No, but yeah, I mean, thank you, you guys. You guys are awesome. Players, people who are watching and enjoying themselves. Thank you.
I'm a DM.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoy doing this. I enjoyed doing this before we put it on stream, but it's really fun to bring it on stream. I just want to say thank you to those who have followed and Emp for donating, dude. Thank you, dude. Sorry, I had to mute the audio. I don't know if you're still here, but again, I tried not to get anything to detract from the game, so I just mute all these kind of things until we can cover them at the end. But thank you for the £5, dude. It's going to go towards, slowly but surely go towards a microphone for Elliot, which was the initial intention, and then we repurposed to get cameras. So we will be eventually getting that, just so we can have a nice shiny HD mic. Thank you for the little bits of bits, guys, as well. Thank you, Psycho Mochi, for the host, and the RPG Lab again for another raid. Really, much appreciated.
Thanks everyone.
Yeah,
if those still around, it's good to have you.
Yeah, and if not, then I mean, it doesn't matter if you're here or not. I just hope you know that it really is appreciated. I just don't want to again break the flow by being like, "Omega, thank you," because I'd rather just let the game speak for itself. Also, thank you for the follows from Tatooine 00, and Rock on My Thumb. I don't know if that's I don't know what that means, but thank you for the follow. Oh wait, it's Rock on My Thumb, right? That's my son, but that's clever. It took me a while, but thank you. But yeah,
carry on my wayward thumb.
I was thinking that as well. But thank you guys. We're gonna go decompress. With
when you are found.
Well, yeah, we're gonna go decompress off
I want to
stream.
do thumb
So
thumbs.
Decompress.
we will see you guys next week, next Tuesday.
Thumb of a
Peace
Yeah.
out. And these will be no longer. I have to remove that one. That has to change slightly. But I still want to keep it a secret until it really delves out exactly who Snake's playing. But thank you very much, guys. Peace out.
And me, because I'm a secret. Anyways, thanks everyone.
Alright,
Thanks,
bye.
guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Peace.
Oh god, I need to end thing. There we go. Bye.
Bye.